investigations are ongoing. Address, make comments, or discuss in public any matters concerning the events relating to what is now commonly referred to as the Shakahola massacre. D. The respondent shall report to the investigating officer once a week on a day of the week and time of the day to be agreed upon by the Prosecution Council and the Defense Council.
Now, the Kenya Kwanza government, in its quest to raise more revenue, has proposed a 5% tax on wigs, full beards and eyelashes. The bill, which has been tabled in Parliament, also wants tax added on eyelashes, switches and other beauty products, including artificial nails. The CS has also proposed an amendment to the Employment Act to provide a 35% income tax on all monthly salaries above 500,000 shillings. The National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has directed the Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah to liaise with Interior CS Kithure Kindiki and ensure the security of close to 22 Azimio lawmakers is reinstated. Wetangula's ruling followed an intervention by Nyando MP Jared Okello, who disclosed the security detail of his colleagues in the Azimio coalition had been withdrawn. The Speaker also declined Azimio's request to remove nominated MP Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip, giving the minority side 30 days to put their house in order.
That the communication received from the minority party with regard to the replacement of the Honorable Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip is incomplete and therefore does not comply with the National Assembly's standing orders. 2. That I hereby grant the minority party a period of 30 days from today within which to convey appropriate communication on the replacement of its minority whip if it wishes.
And Azimio now wants the bipartisan talks to be concluded within a month and that the youths arrested during the protest be released, led by DAPK's Eugene Omalwa. They also want experts involved in the negotiations.
But we cannot want this talk to go for longer than 30 days from the date of commencement. We have also made it clear that our youths who have been arrested must be released unconditionally ahead of the talks. The talks cannot be driven entirely and exclusively through a parliamentary process. There must be an avenue to be inclusive and to allow for the participation of players from outside Parliament in the talks.
And President William Ruto says all government services will be digitized by the end of the year. Speaking during the Fingo Africa launch, Ruto said some changes will start as soon as next month.
Today we have 3,000 and I am committed that by next month I am informed by both the Ministry of ICT and the Ministry of Interior that we will have 5,000 services by 30th of May, and by the end of this year all government services will be available online, including marriage and divorce maybe.
Education CS Ezekiel Odero says the government has stopped funding students in private universities while appearing before Parliament's Education Committee. The CS also said learning activities had been paralyzed due to various factors, including accrued debt.
Apart from funding and financial programs, there is also the issue of governance, there is the issue of management, which as a ministry we are also trying to deal with, so that we get the correct and the right men and women in university councils. We get the right vice chancellors who will also be undertaken through the necessary training in management so that we get it right.
Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba has been appointed as ANC Secretary General. Milemba takes over from Simon Gikuru, who has been appointed to a CAS position.
I want to thank the leadership of the party for having had confidence in me to serve in that position. And I know that ahead are a number of challenges, which I believe that together with the leadership that we have, we may build the party to greater heights.
This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So I said, your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of God.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
Well. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyang.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to, she's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name. Leo hakuna traffic. Hakuna.
It's starting to look very, very good on all the roads. Well, let's see, Jogoo Road and Mombasa Road and Thika Superhighway and Langata Road and Gong Road and the bypasses are all looking very, very good right now. But let's see how they'll be looking like in about half an hour, and especially at peak traffic time in the 7 to 8:30 a.m. period.
Spice FM, Malindi. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Yes, it is. Good
this
morning.
is
How
the
are
Situation
you doing?
Room.
It's 12
the
minutes
only
after 6 on this 5th day of the 5th month of 2023. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndu is not in today. CT
is in
today. Mm-hmm. Eric is here. CT niko na nation. Asante.
Okay. Unataka business daily?
BD maybe.
Secure business.
Okay. How you doing though?
I'm very well, thank you.
This cold has abated somewhat, huh?
Yeah, bwana.
Yeah.
But it's just playing that ping pong game.
Which is a ping pong.
Today it behaves like it's behaving. Then tomorrow it will stop behaving like it's behaving.
Well, when it behaves the way it's behaving tomorrow, so we'll talk to it tomorrow.
Hey, my friend. Yeah, nikubaya, nikufiam.
Nikumbaya?
Hey, bwana.
Yeah.
Hey, hapana mchezo. Hapana mchezo. Anyway, tuta survive. We will survive.
The key thing is you will survive.
Yeah, that's
the rest is we'll survive.
Hey.
We'll survive.
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Survive is a keyword.
The keyword.
Up on your point.
As unajua survive.
Yes.
Unajua nyimbo.
That's where the point is. Are we surviving or not?
We're surviving.
But that's it. Welcome, everybody. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. The Kenya Rugby Union has a new chairman, a new leadership. All righty. So Sasha Mutai finally became Kenya Rugby Union chairman.
Finally?
Finally. He's been on this journey for a while.
At long last.
Yes. He's been on this journey for a while. And now that he's at the helm of the Kenya Rugby Union, he'll be coming here and we'll ask him,
So, Sasha,
you wanted it now, here it is.
You've got it.
So now, exactly.
Yes,
but also broaden the conversation on here. What's the future of sport in this country?
That is a very good thing to do. Because sport is sport. Sportsmen are there. Shida iko wapi?
What's the problem? I mean, people are passionate about the sport that they
participate in. Passionate about sports in this country.
Completely.
Kabisa.
So, he'll be here. He'll tell us about that. 8 a.m. Okay. Which one is Jubilee? There's Jubilee Party of Uhuru, Jubilee Party of Sabina.
Is it possible to have both? Because ODM showed them this.
Jubilee in government, Jubilee in opposition.
Actually, it started off with one gentleman by the name of who? He was called Kenneth Matiba.
Ford Asili.
Precisely.
Ford Kenya.
Ibas. So, I mean, all these parties keep having either the Asili. So this is Jubilee Asili?
Jubilee Asili.
Or is it Jubilee Kenya?
Or Jubilee people.
Yes. Or there's also Ford people.
Yes. Ford people. Watu wengi sana
kesho.
the late Simeon Nyachai. So Jeremiah Kioni, the Secretary General of Jubilee, choose which Jubilee it is, will be joining us at 8 a.m. The Jubilee House of Cards. Will the centre hold? That's a conversation and the question that we'll be asking this morning. And then at 9 a.m. So we are seeing all these things are happening in the country. Oh, there's cultism, there's I don't know what, there's disturbing footage of people killing each other, and that people killing loved ones, very, very close relatives.
Killing pregnant wives with children, killing children. It's bizarre. It's getting worse.
Completely crazy. Let's have a conversation about the state of our mental health as a nation. And we'll be joined by two people. One of them is a campaigner and a health advocate, Sylvia Kasanga, who sponsored a bill through Parliament on mental health, and it sailed through Parliament. It's now law. Sylvia will be joined by Diana Wache, who is a clinical psychologist. Let's talk about the nation's mental health. Nizazawa? Nizazawa ende. Aya, sasa. We are live streaming, right, Ednah? Yes, we are. On Spice FM KE, YouTube and Facebook. We are right there. Tuko pale pale. Let's hear from you. Where are you tuned in from? After we take a look at the weather forecast, we shall acknowledge your presence.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is Double O Direct, woman host, music by women and only women guests.
If COVID could mutate and evolve 6 times over the last 2 years, how many versions of yourself have emerged in the last 2 years?
Do not, and you don't have to give anything to get ahead. All you have to do is give out and show out your talent.
Catch Double O Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m. on Spice FM.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is one of the best ways to spend a Saturday.
Okay, cloudy conditions in Nairobi today. Partly cloudy, highs of 24 and lows of 15. Mombasa, partly cloudy, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Malindi, clear skies at 30 and lows of 26. Kisumu, clear skies, highs of 27, lows of 18. Nyeri, cloudy day, mostly highs of 24 and lows of 16. Nakuru, partly cloudy, highs of 24 and lows of 14. Western Kenya, let's go to Kakamega, mostly clear skies, highs of 27 and lows of 16. And Eldoret, partly cloudy, highs 24, lows 12. Kampala, Uganda, clear skies at 26 and lows of 17. Johannesburg, mostly cloudy, highs of 24. Dar es Salaam, mostly cloudy, highs of 30. Kinshasa, mostly clear skies, highs of 32. Lagos, partly cloudy, highs of 32. China, Beijing, cloudy skies, highs of 18. London, cloudy at 18. New York, rain showers at 14. And Paris, mostly cloudy at 20.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so we are right here. We are doing the do what? The live stream. And who's online? Let me tell you. DJ Salim says, good morning, Kiambu representing. Nasho iko top kabisa. What has happened? Is it you who's done like this? Hey, yeah? Okay. Let it come on. Machine has done like those things that the machines do. Okay, so DJ Salim, good morning, Boshi Kiambu Tugu, Terrell Gilbert, a following program from Chepkebit, Kapkelei area, Bomet County. Hilary Chirchir, Kitale locked in. Ndu, where is the inauguration of the new president, Uko Kwenu? Okay, she's not in today, but she'll tell us he's being inaugurated later this month, I believe. Teddy Churchill, what stood out for me was the blatant ethnicization of the civil service. When, Teddy? When? Abdikadir Abdallah here at Komarok locked in. Kaka Frank Topranks, Tupo Site, LD locked in. MCA James Kimanzi. Morning people tuned in from Palm Resort and Apartments, Nyali, Mombasa. David Munyao, Mukuru Koruben is tuned in. MC Super JJ Kitale tuned in. Caleb Omenda, Kangemi well represented. Shakom Kalama, good morning. Clemo Jr. following. Kila mtu wako ndani. Simba ya Luvuni. Good morning, the Situation Room. Good morning, Simba ya Luvuni. Where is Luvuni? Ama who is Luvuni? Simba ya Luvuni. Kerry Adaka, good morning. Tuned in from JKIA. 45 Githurai. Shedi Mechi, good morning. Robert Mbogo, good morning from Mombasa. Atieno Jermaine. Jambo, Ijuma Karim. Good morning. Professor C.T. Muga is our principal designate. King Charles coronation. Bas. Pale. Okay. MCR, James Kimanzi, we've just said good morning to you from Nyeri in Mombasa. Simon Odhiambo, good morning. 044, listening. He's soon traveling to Magarini. Safe travel, Simon. Sky Karish, good morning, big team. Good morning to you. Odero Jr. is at the Great Wall of Kino, as always. Always a pleasure to hear from you each and every morning. Karibuni sana, kila mutu. Soon we'll be telling you who's live on Spice on the live stream. Iko wapi hiyo kitu Ednah? Imepotea tena? Surely. Okay. Aya, eka Spice tuangalie who's live on the YouTube channel. We are live streaming. Yes, we are. Hii computer iko slow.
Don't worry.
Tutarudi hapo tu sahi. Haya, Deep State. Good morning, Ndu. Working from home. Why can't Ednah sit on Ndu's chair? Because Ednah is sitting on Ednah's chair.
Mm-hmm.
That one you cannot replace. Mental health is real. Owen Bosira, yes, that's why we want to have that conversation. Edwins, Wakenya, hey, Wakenya. From Mombasa, tuning in. Dr. Venvik. Titus Kwanusu, good morning from Embakasi, Nairobi. Good morning from Garden Estate, that's June. Willis, good morning. James Ayub, listening in from South Dakota. South Coast. To enjoy bwana. Jeffrey Kimani from Tacoma, Washington. Abdullahi Eden, hi CT, try Somali proverbs and you'll never quote any other community's proverbs. Once you go Somali, you'll never go back. Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. The proverb.
Yes. Next week we will look at Somali proverbs so that Abdullahi can now tell us what he now thinks. Now that will be the
in
entire
Somalia.
Week Somali proverbs.
Very good.
Okay. A water carrier does not drink mud.
A water carrier does not drink mud.
Mm-hmm.
Water carrier here being Bowser Mamutu.
Sasa, a Bowser is a natural progression of the, what you call them, Zega.
Is mechanized water carrier.
Mechanized Zega. Yes. So that one, same thing. Same water proof.
So water carrier
does not
drink
mud.
Mud.
Yes.
Well, you've got water with you all the time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Water everywhere. But what they fail to tell you is that there's also mud everywhere.
There's mud everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he may also actually be carrying a lot of mud in that water thing.
That is that little detail. Someone who's accustomed to carrying water will know. This is muddy water. This is water without mud. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's look at the headlines. Let me start with the Standard. Then you can tell us about the nation. Yeah. More tax pain in budget plan. So yesterday, the National Treasury released the finance bill. The finance bill. So the progression of budget making. It starts with the budget policy statement, which is that thing that the National Treasury comes and says, this is how much we'd like to spend next year. This is how we'll anchor spending next year, the programs and all this and the other. And if that is passed, then they bring in the budget estimates and they say, this is how it's going to look like. This is where we're going to spend this money and the other. And then they come with a finance bill. Now that you agreed, you allowed us to spend 3.64 trillion shillings next year, let me tell you how we're going to raise it. So we told you we are going to raise it. Let me tell you how. So the finance bill does exactly that. And that's what Professor Jogona Dongo released yesterday. And is asking for listener feedback. Okay. High earners to be taxed at a rate of 35% as the Treasury, which is facing a biting cash squeeze, proposes a raft of tough new levies across sectors to raise revenue to fund its 3.64 trillion shilling budget. The Standard has a graphical presentation there of various issues. For example, A 3% new housing levy on workers to be matched by employers and capped at 5,000 shillings monthly. Yeah. So you will contribute at least 5,000 shillings from your salary every month, and your employer at most 5,000 shillings every month to something that is going to be called the housing levy. Sawa. Higher.
That is everybody. Yeah? It doesn't have to be an employee of the government. Everybody.
No, all salaried employees.
So long as you receive a salary. Salary meaning there is a stipulated amount that you receive every month.
Okay. You are in that mix. Higher. 3% digital asset tax on income from transfer of or exchange of digital assets. Higher. That means in you what your Bitcoin.
Kushida.
Yeah. Every time that you do transfer of Bitcoin, 3%. 35% is the new income tax rate on Kenyans earning 500,000 shillings and above. This is up from 30%. KRA is expected to collect 2.89 trillion shillings in the next financial year. We have said by March 30th, KRA had collected 1.5 trillion shillings. By March 30th, with 3 months to go to the end of the year.
No, at that point in time, it was 3 months.
Yes.
At this point in time?
2.
1.
Yeah. Okay. So with 3 months to go, they had only done 1.5.
And the target was?
2.4.
4.
Okay.
Right.
They had not done, were just dangling at 50% of what they were supposed to have been collecting. Here they are now. They are telling us they'll raise 2.89. Anyway, look at those stories in detail. Other headlines here. Revealed Kenya's best and worst paying professions. Another story here which will be interesting, the people of Kericho County and Nandi County. James Finlay farm sold to Sri Lankans. Hey. Higher. Pastor Ezekiel released on 1.5 million shillings bail. Mnataka cash, M-Pesa,
Did you see the number of followers who were at Shanzu? My friend, that money was raised chap. How much was it? Okay, so when do you want it? Okay. Do you want it cash or do you want a banker's check?
Yeah.
Okay. Namna gani? Or do you want us to ask the bank to send it directly? How do you want it?
Yes. Hi, let me tell you what's in the Business Daily. Then you'll tell us about the Nation and the Star. How new taxes will hit fuel, M-Pesa charges and salaries. That's a headline. The Treasury targeting that income. So they also have a graphic presentation here. Excise on mobile money transfer services up from 12% to 15%. Ukitumia mtu M-Pesa, 15% excise.
What?
Yup. Every transfer.
Wait a moment. So, no, please just go ahead. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
Okay. Businesses with an annual turnover of 500,000 to 15 million to pay turnover tax. Previously, this was for companies that were earning between 1 and 50 million. Now, it has come down to, if your annual turnover is 500,000 shillings, you also get into that bracket. Betting. Excise on amounts staked for betting to increase from 7.5 to 20%. Fuel. VAT on fuel to go up from 8% to 16%. Yes, sijui kama tumeelewana. Tumeelewana?
All I know is that everything is being taxed more.
Sijui kama tuko pamoja. Bei ya mafuta inapanda by VAT going up, doubling. Tax on dividends. If you get dividends, you've been getting a tax of 5%. Now, for every dividend you receive, 15% is the tax.
Why don't they just round it off so that we to 20% for everything, so that we know it's simpler? Just 5% here, 2% here, 3%. Just make it 20, so that let 2 be the dominant. Like for instance, don't fuel 170.
VAT 20%. Excise duty
20%. Yes. Fuel 200 shillings. So we know. Okay. Exchange rate. Don't let it do this climb is U136. Put at 200. Then so we know. So, everything is 200 or 20, but there's a 2 there. So we are comfortable. We know in Kenya, everything is 2.
Yes.
Okay?
You're not having to look at the figures.
And then for the next year, we know nothing is going to increase because we've already taken care of the increase because we increased in advance. Okay? See, it makes life easier. Every few months doing this, changing this, it's confusing and it's disturbing. So just weka.
Mara moja.
Yeah, even this 35% as wanacheza nayo, please weka 40. Okay? Mara moja ili tujue ya kwamba tunalipa ushuru ya 40%.
Kitu stable.
Stable, not 35, then you're going to tell 36. Confusing. 40.
Weka kitu mzuri.
Yes.
Pesa mzuri ambayo itakusaidia.
One time.
Pesa itakusaidia.
Yes. Si ni nchi yetu na serikali ni yetu. Tuwapatie pesa.
Yeah. Okay, what's on the nation?
Nation, my friend. Salaried Kenyans to pay more taxes. Same story. Same. Squeeze. Employers and mainly youthful digital content creators and the middle class at large will have it rough under President William Ruto's taxation plan in the year starting July, which means it has already started, following a raft of proposals that will hit pay slips with more deductions amid a stagnation in salary reviews and high cost of living. Stories on page 4, 5, and 6. But that's where the story is. The impact is on today, tomorrow, the day after, and for the rest of
our lives.
Yes, something of that sort. Now, that is the headline. Let me look at the Star, my friend. Because this story of tax just everywhere.
Back page of the Nation.
Back page of the Nation. Yes. Parents paying as in university funding plan. Students who opt for courses in private universities will not receive any funding from the government. Are these students not Kenyans? Should they also not be considered? We will discuss that later. Okay. Star, Siasa. Right, top right-hand corner, inside Ruto's secret plan to ground Raila and Kenyatta. That is in the Siasa pages. Okay? Now, bang in the middle of the Star, quote, Treasury says section was declared unconstitutional. This one is an interesting one. Treasury, that is Professor Ndungu, okay? Counters Ruto MPs on Raila and Uhuru Parks. Ndungu says section that denies the two pensions should be repealed.
What?
Okay. So, one Mr. Kagombe and his proposals.
Yes.
Now, the people who dole out money are telling you, sorry. So, life goes on, doesn't it?
It does.
Then there's Kenya Kwanza lays out how it will fund 3.6 trillion budget. There's a raft of details. We'll look at that.
Sawa.
Yes.
It's 27 minutes to 7. Okay, the Nairobian is also here. Inside Pastor Ezekiel's empire, the untold story. The Nairobian says it's going behind the scenes to reveal secretive multi-million church complex and the dealings therein. And there's a story here on page 8. I think we read this story some time back in the papers of Kuku no Kifaranga, a German tycoon who married a Kenyan niece and her auntie. Remember that story?
But that story very, very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And David Morales says Jubilee will not join Kenya Kwanza.
Okay, which Jubilee is he talking about?
That's the question.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Getting jiggy with it. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn. No, I should be looking at traffic actually, not the weather right now. Okay, so now here we go. Let me tell you what's happening on the roads. Nothing really major to report. So, there's some construction going on in sections of Mombasa Road near the expressway. So, just be careful and watch out for that. The works people have put in some markers to just guide you through the traffic. Watch out for that. Eastern Bypass, nothing major to report. Kangunda Road as it enters into Outer Ring Road, nothing major to report. Also, Thika Superhighway, nothing big. Kiambu Road, already looking good, or still looking good until when you get to Pangani, but then Pangani has started now to build up. Let's see how it will be looking at about half an hour. Nothing else to talk about. If there's anything to talk about, just let us know and we'll alert everybody else. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Where do you want to look?
I am going to start with the star.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Pastor Ezekiel released on 3 million shilling bond.
Yeah.
He was released on a 3 million shilling bond or 1.5 million cash bail. You know, tofauti, bond and a cash bail. Okay, on Thursday. The prosecution has applied to detain Odero for 30 days, citing fresh affidavits in case involving mass deaths. However, Shanzu Senior Principal Magistrate Joe Midio threw out the applications. You know, even as we regulate churches and we discuss and talk about how it is to watch out for malcontents who hide under the banner of the church, we must also not witch hunt people who, just because they have denominations that are not considered mainstream, exist. And let's not impute wrong when none exists. And if there's wrong, let's prove that the wrong is actually there.
The thing is proving.
Yeah, because this lynch mobbing, mob lynching, what did I call it before?
Lynch mobbing is okay.
Yes, this mob. This lynching, this mob who are crying out and begging for blood. Right now, the pain that people are going through and they're feeling, it is likely to look for someone to blame and someone to point fingers at. But let's take the opportunity to actually look and understand and be clear. Sometimes when these things happen, innocent people get caught up.
Yep.
And innocent people suffer when they had done absolutely nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing.
Wamekula mbuzi ya nani?
Hata mbuzi, hata hiyo mbuzi hata hakukula. Yeye alikula tu mboga. So if you want to ask the question, alikula mboga ya nani?
Let's see how the police investigate this one, because of those deaths. So yes, even the lawyers admit there are people who were brought to Pastor Ezekiel's church and they died in the premises. The lawyers say, there were about 15. Nearby morgue say, no, there are many more. So there are very many stories here to talk about and to see how the investigators handle this particular case. It's a big one.
All right. I'll read that story. Treasury contradicts Ruto MPs on Uhuru Raila pensions, okay?
Okay.
May I?
Please.
Proposed law removes limits of pension to bigwigs actively involved in politics. The National Treasury is reading from a different script from some of the President William Ruto's allies who want pensions perks of 3 Azimio leaders terminated for their active engagement in politics. In a new bill sent to the National Assembly, Treasury wants Parliament to repeal section of the law that compel former state officers to completely retire from politics or forfeit their pensions. Okay? Some Ruto-allied MPs are targeting the fat retirement benefits of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, Azimio leaders Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka for orchestrating anti-government demos. The MPs, led by Uhuru's own Gatundu South lawmaker Gabriel Kagombe, has written to Treasury to recover all the monies paid to the 3 leaders, arguing the government cannot continue to pump resources used to fight the same administration. Okay? But a new twist. Treasury, in a Finance Bill 2023, seeks to do away with Section 4 of the Retirement Benefits, Deputy Presidents and Designated Officers Act 2015. In this section, that provides that retired leaders, including former Prime Minister or Vice President, must hang their political boots to benefit. Treasury says the move is informed by a High Court decision that declared the section unconstitutional. The defunct Cord coalition had dashed to court after that the then ruling Jubilee party under Uhuru insisted Raila Kalonzo had to retire to benefit. Isn't it interesting? Uhuru's people pushed this in his time. Now it is him who is being haunted by the very thing that his people pushed.
Yes.
Need I say more looking into the future? I will rest my case.
What is best for the country, though? What is best for the country?
You know, even as we talk about what's best, Erica, I was reading an article written by a former, he was a he was a partner in the presidential race. He was a deputy to one of he
was a running mate to a candidate.
That's what the word I was looking for. He penned an article yesterday in the Standard. He was saying, this issue of retirement, please read it carefully, okay? You retire, what you retire from is the position. But you as a person involvement in politics is not included in the law.
It's not.
Yes. So now, those who understand the law will argue it back and forth. But what is good for the country? What is good for the country is that this debate about the Constitution continues. I like it though, because the more we talk about these things, the more we get to understand the Constitution.
Yeah.
The more people bring issues that we didn't understand or know about, the more we get to understand, because people come in and people discuss the law and they discuss the Constitution. So it is good for us.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing for us.
Way. Now, this issue of taxes, I think it will be the conversation the entire of next week. Because there are various things, particularly this one, where they say that tax on fuel, petroleum, is going to go up. VAT on fuel will go up from 8 to 16%. That's a big thing. However, LPG will not attract the VAT anymore.
Anymore meaning what exactly?
VAT on LPG goes.
Eric, when a government is hell-bent on taxing everything animate and inanimate, that is for now. That tax, that price is going to go up.
It's basically they've removed VAT on LPG and put it, because it was 8% LPG, 8% on fuel. So they've brought that 8% from LPG
and added on to this one here.
Onto petrol and diesel and kerosene.
I am saying that even LPG, just sit and wait. There'll be a tax levied on it. Just give it time.
It'll come.
Yes, because this one is to pull more people to use LPG. They will use LPG.
Yes,
the figures will be there.
Yes,
then you'll throw in like a small tax. You'll call it overturn tax, whatever you want to call it. But there'll be a tax. Yes,
there'll be something.
There'll be something. Just give it time.
Then there's the one for M-Pesa. Excise duty on mobile money transfers goes up from 12 to 15%. Okay? Becomes more expensive. And then there's the one on dividends. So if you lend the government money in terms of bonds, they're paying you. They want
What's the tax on it again now?
They want to introduce a tax on it there.
Why don't they just introduce it instead of
15%?
So fine.
That's some will have. Businesses will bear the heaviest burden of funding the state's budget. Companies could be forced to reduce or freeze new jobs after Ruto reintroduced a 3% National Housing Development Fund, which, like pension payments, will see employers match their workers' contributions. So NHIF is going up, NSSF has gone up, and now you introduce a new one called National Housing Fund.
National Housing Fund makes sense if you are looking for an avenue to collect a lot of money, which isn't going to be demanded. The expending of which will not be demanded. It's a good thing because it's in the future, and you just keep building. You just keep collecting. Okay. I then have to ask, if this is working, what about Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company? What do they do? And how are they going about their business? Because same thing is housing.
So Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, remember, is there are two things. This money that they want to take on the housing fund is to be used to develop the housing. Okay, it's funds that will be managed by either the National Housing Corporation or a new body that they'll set up that manages this. So we are going to X place and we are putting up houses. Here is the money. We're building the houses as National Housing or whoever they subcontract. Then now CT is going to buy the house. Okay. Now for you to buy that house, you will need money. That's why you go to KMRC.
And where is KMRC getting their money from?
KMRC gets its money now from banks, SACCOs, and from Shelter Afrique. They are from Africa Development Bank, from I think World Bank. I think the European Development Bank has also put in some money there.
Now this money which they get from whichever sources is the money I borrow if I want to buy a house.
Is the money you go to your bank, you borrow money from the bank.
So where does KMRC come from?
It now refinances the bank.
It refinances the bank?
Yes. It's mortgage refinance. It's basically guaranteeing the bank that, you know what, give CT this loan at 8%. Don't go to that market value of yours of 16%. Give him at 8%. All right? So when you give CT 5 million shillings to buy a house at 8% for the next 15 years, when you give CT, come and I give you back the 5 million shillings.
Why don't they just give the bank that money so that the bank gives it to me directly?
That's what they've done. But they want the bank to first of all give you the money. They don't want to give the money to the bank, and then the bank uses that money to lend you at 16%.
Okay.
They want to make sure that the money they're giving the bank is the money that
After
you
the
have
bank
borrowed.
has told me, okay, we're giving you money.
Yes.
Then they say, okay, now we're guaranteeing so that this is what you're going to do.
Yes.
So essentially, it is our money you're giving CT, not yours.
Yes. That's it.
And how does the bank make money? Because banks have to make money.
The bank is given this money at about 5%.
Oh.
It gives it to you at 8%.
Oh. So
Umeona?
essentially, they should give it to me actually at 6%. Okay. Okay, I get.
Umeona?
No.
Yes.
I've understood.
That's how it's going. So now, let me tell you about a story that I've been thinking about. On Saturday, I get alerts every time William Ruto accounts go live. And man, this man is busy. Ruto's due here. In 2 hours, Ruto here. In 3 hours, Ruto here. He's in Bomet. Next time, he's in Elgeyo Marakwet. Next time, he's in KICC. Like, wait a minute. On Saturday, at 7 a.m., he was in State House, right?
Nairobi.
Yes, Nairobi. He was witnessing the swearing in of the new Chief of Defence Forces.
Yes.
7 in the morning. A few hours later at 9, he was in Rongai, launching roads. Kidogo at 12.
Rongai? This Rongai of ours, down in Nakuru.
Ongata Rongai.
Ongata Rongai, yes.
Hapa, launching a road. At 12 p.m., man was in Bomet. I was like, hata sijatoka kwa kitanda. Man, I was watching this guy.
He was in Bomet.
He was in Bomet. In the evening, he was at KICC, Mo Ibrahim. Anyway, so let's talk about the 7 a.m. thing. It was the new CDF who was being sworn in and basically just taking office. What's the name of the new CDF?
I think the gentleman is called General Ogola, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, he is. General Francis Ogola of the Kenya Air Force is now the new CDF. General Kibochi of the Kenya Army is retiring. General Kibochi will be leaving office today. Today is when they are going to do that ceremony of pulling the Land Rover out.
Can I pause for a second?
Yes.
The retiring general, let's accord him the rightful title. General Doctor.
Yes.
Please.
General Doctor.
Yes. Please, now carry on.
Okay, sawa. General Dr. Robert Kibochi.
Thank you.
Will be pulled out on that Land Rover in that ceremony at DOD today. And after that, now he becomes former general, right? Properly.
He becomes a Raia.
He becomes a Raia, properly. And the new people at the helm of the military take full charge. Sawa. He goes home. He will be credited with many things. Under his philosophy, he came up with a philosophy called sharpening the arrowhead, making sure that our soldiers are well equipped, well trained, and ready to deal with any challenges. He was the first non-infantry soldier to actually rise to the level of 4-star general. Others were watu wa kupigana. Him is a signaller. He's an engineer. He's gotten there. He got his PhD. Okay?
Yes.
While still serving as general. Just the other day, he just gotten his PhD. He joined the military in 1979 as a young cadet. He's risen through the ranks to 4-star general. Now he's going home. He's going to join the people like General Samson Mwadede, whom he replaced. He's going to be there with General Karangi, who was of the Air Force. Before General Karangi was General who? It was
Kibwana.
General Kibwana. Okay, no, Kibwana was much earlier. It was
Yes, I know the gentleman you're talking about, whose background was intelligence. He's called...
No.
Wait, I'm getting it wrong.
Kianga.
Yes, Kianga. That's the gentleman whose background was intelligence.
So General Kianga, before that was now Kibwana, before that was Tonje, before that was Mahmoud Mohammed, before that was Mulinge.
Before that was
Major Ndolo. Okay?
Yes.
So from Major Ndolo, let's start at 1978. 1978, Mulinge becomes there. Then they were called what?
Chief of General Staff.
CGS.
Yes.
Okay. Mulinge. Then Mohammed. Then Tonje. Then Kibwana. Then Kianga. Karangi. Mwadede. Kibochi. Those are former generals. Only Mulinge is dead. All the other generals are alive. And doing
well.
Okay. And they're well. All right? Tonje came up with something that has been praised by many. He came up with now this philosophy on saying, okay, you rise to a 4-star general, you serve a 1-term, non-renewable, you go home. It can be extended by the boss, the commander-in-chief, by a year, okay? But then you leave, and then somebody from a different service comes in. So it's rotational. Now it has made sure that we have seen Navy generals, we have seen Air Force generals, we have seen Army generals.
We have.
Coming, and we know. The next general now, this one, the current general is from the Air Force. The next one we know is Navy. We know this. And it's a good tradition that has been formed.
It's exactly a very wonderful tradition.
And then it also says that you retire, if you are in the general ranks, you retire when you hit this age, or if you become a general, you serve 1 term. All right? So it's an age determinant. And it's in the 60s.
It's very clear, by the way.
Right?
It's very clear. In fact, every rank has an age limit to it.
Yes.
Yes.
And now even Kibochi introduced something new with this education. Remember, we were told this by Lieutenant General Badi when he came here. He said, now when you actually get to Colonel, you must have a master's degree. Okay?
Yes.
At Colonel level. So by the time you become a 1-star general, brigadier, you're already a master's person.
Yes.
And you're going in. So the general ranks are going to be people who are masters and above. So Kibochi may be the first who has a PhD. He'll definitely not be the last. It may become a new normal, for our generals to be PhD holders.
You know, what used to be, we had a defense staff college, and then we had now the higher unit, which is now defense staff university. Okay.
Yes.
Now, again, at the rank of colonel, you actually had to undergo a certain training. Then they partnered with the University of Nairobi, so that now accreditation could follow that particular training.
Yes.
But that particular training that you had there, it wasn't just for the military. People who had reached the rank of DC, probably going to PC or assistant to PC, civil servants of a certain rank, put it that way, went for that course. Now, to understand is to understand that the thinkers, those who came up with that plan, understood that at a certain level, you needed people within the civil service at a certain rank to know each other.
Yes.
So they could network easily. Now, after that course is when you could become brigadier. In the absence of that course, if you never went for that course, you'd be a colonel and you'd stick there.
You are not going anywhere.
You are not going
about
anywhere.
That.
Yes.
And the thing about that is also the kind of training that you're exposed to is not just on how to fight.
No.
It's strategic thinking.
Yes.
And it's strategy thinking management.
Yes.
So you are basically, when you're a general, you're a manager.
Yes.
Okay? You are a CEO of a big corporation. Now, you tell me, look at General Kibochi. Upright like this, younger than you, man has been told, with your PhD, you've retired. At the peak of his mind, he's been told, you have retired. And what we see now being done to the former generals, you're appointed chairman of Nyayo T-Zones.
Jubilee Sugar Company.
Jubilee Sugar. What is that? I think we're wasting the very best of our brains.
You know, as you say it, I was thinking, that course, I had a friend who went for that course, so I have witnessed this whole thing plus the graduation, okay? General Ali, who was formerly the police commissioner, was part of that particular course. Karangi, who later became
CDF,
he was also in that course. But we had other people from other East and Central African countries in that course.
Yeah.
Now, what better place to have people who have gone through that system join the university? Not necessarily that university. Can you imagine the number of people? By the way, by the time you get to general level, you've been educated in very many things.
Yes.
Get them to be involved in educating people. All these university security courses, one form or the other. What better person to teach security than somebody who has lived it and worked in it? And by the way, by the time you get to general, it's all your life. There's nothing else you did in between.
For me, it even goes beyond just teaching security. Because this person is a strategic thinker.
Yes.
He's not just thinking security. We are not at war, right? So he's not only thinking security. He's thinking very many things.
Yes.
This retiring CDF, right? He's an engineer. He's a telecommunications engineer. He knows a lot of things. Now, surely, you cannot tell somebody like this, go home. All your life, you've worked in a certain order. Since 1979, you have worked in the military. You have never worked in the private sector. You've never worked in anything else. You've only worked in the military. And then you tell him, go home.
Eric, do you know why I mentioned, why I brought in academia?
Yeah.
It's because of the strategic thinking aspect that you brought in. You see, strategy, academia is very directly related with strategy in this sense.
That's true.
When you want people who can help you think things through, and many of them are that retirement age, right across the civil service.
Yes.
It's a place, these things we call think tanks.
Yes.
You want these people to be in think tanks.
That's exactly where I was heading.
Yes. Because they are very useful. That wealth of knowledge put in one place is an amazing arsenal. It's an amazing... Imagine, look at the people who were in intelligence, people who were just think across, people who were in finance, people who were in banking, and have reached that age as think tanks. Now, just think of what they would be able to do. Completely. And how they would be able to help.
And it should be a properly recognized think tank.
Yes,
that brings in these people. Because if you also think about it, even the people who are retiring from civil service at senior level, they know quite a lot.
My friend, not only do they know a lot, they're very well educated.
Yes.
They're extremely well educated and exposed.
And experienced because they've done it.
Yes.
They have gone through the pitfalls, they've tried, they've failed, they've tried, they've succeeded. They know quite a bit. You cannot just tell somebody, you know what, Mr. Kiboshi, go away, go home. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Atimodede now just wakes up in the morning and wonders, okay, so now what do I do? Karangi wakes up in the morning and wonders, what do I do? Those three gentlemen I've mentioned are below 70.
Do you remember what Kibaki did when he came into power? We complained a great deal that he's resurrecting
retirees,
fossils.
older people.
Okay? Yeah, but Kibaki knew what he was doing. Because these people knew exactly what was required, what needed to be done.
Yes.
They had done it, they had risen to very high levels, and they were retired. Now, brought back. Was it you was telling this about some research which was done about the most effective employees they're doing this in the US? They said people who are above the age of 50 and have young families make the best employees. And the logic they found, these people have reached certain levels in their careers. They no longer want those levels. So even if you put them somewhere in the middle where they work, they know what to do. They are motivated because they have a young family. That was the rider. But the expertise they come with is unparalleled.
Completely.
There is no comparison.
And they're motivated to work.
Oh, they're very motivated to work. Yes. Anyway.
Because to them, they enjoy working. So anyway, I hope we can have a national conversation around this, on what we do with our retired people, particularly the retired people in the military. Tonja did a good thing. He ensured that there is continuous succession and there is promotion and there is growth within the military ranks. Now, once you've grown to this level where you are a PhD general in your early 60s and you're going home, what else can this country do to you? All those things that we're talking about, you PhDs, you what, we paid for it.
Yes, we did.
It's somebody we've invested in since 1979.
Yes. And then we just letting that person go
and
to
then
pasture.
Just let them go at you go. Apana. Not nice. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We want to talk about sports in the country, joined by the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union, Sasha Mutai. We'll also be telling you about I&M Bank. Have you called I&M Bank? Have you walked into I&M Bank branches? They are giving you the best in the trade. Nobody else in Kenya is giving you this kind of deal. I&M Bank are saying tunakujali. We'll tell you about it. 7 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Nizo. I'm Dennis Aseto. New Life President Church Pastor Ezekiel Odero has been released after spending a week in police custody in between court appearances. Odero was freed by a Mombasa court on a 3 million shillings bond and one surety or a 1.5 million shillings cash bail. The wealthy televangelist was received outside the courtroom by a throng of his followers who chanted Siuchawi Nimambi as they hoisted him up in the air.
The respondent shall be admitted to a bond of 3 million shillings, one surety of similar amounts, or an alternative of cash bail of 1.5. B. The bond bail terms granted in the year above shall subsist until the respondent is formally charged and or until investigations are concluded. C. The respondent shall not, before being formally charged or when investigations are ongoing, address, make comments, or discuss in public any matters concerning the events relating to what is now commonly referred to as the Shakahola massacre. D. The respondent shall report to the investigating officer once a week on a day of the week and time of the day to be agreed upon by the Prosecution Counsel and the Defense Counsel.
Now, the Kenya Kwanza government, in its quest to raise more revenue, has proposed a 5% tax on wigs, false beards and eyebrows. The bill, which has been tabled in Parliament, also wants tax added on eyelashes, switches and other beauty products, including artificial nails. The CS has also proposed an amendment to the Employment Act to provide a 35% income tax on all monthly salaries above 500,000. Now, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has directed the Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah to liaise with Interior CS Kithure Kindiki and ensure the security close to 22 Azimio lawmakers is reinstated. Wetangula's ruling followed an intervention by Nyando MP Jared Okello, who disclosed the security detail of his colleagues in the Azimio coalition had been withdrawn. The Speaker also declined Azimio's request to remove nominated MP Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip, giving the minority 30 days to put their house in order.
That the communication received from the minority party with regard to the replacement of the Honorable Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip is incomplete and therefore does not comply the National Assembly's standing orders. 2. That I hereby grant the minority party a period of 30 days from today within which to convey appropriate communication on the replacement of its minority whip if it wishes.
And Azimio now wants the bipartisan talks to be concluded within a month and that the youth arrested during the protest be released, led by DAPK's Eugene Wamalwa. They also want experts involved in the negotiations.
But we cannot want this talk to go for longer than 30 days from the date of commencement. We have also made it clear that our youths who have been arrested must be released unconditionally ahead of the talks. The talks cannot be driven entirely and exclusively through a parliamentary process. There must be an avenue to be inclusive and to allow for the participation of players from outside Parliament in the talks.
Now, President William Ruto says all government services will be digitized by the end of the year. Speaking during the Think of Africa launch, Ruto said some changes will start as soon as next month.
Today, we have 3,000, and I am committed that by next month, I am informed by both the Ministry of ICT and the Ministry of Interior that we will have 5,000 services by 30th of May, and by the end of this year, all government services will be available online, including marriage and divorce, maybe.
And Education CS Ezekiel Odero says the government has stopped funding students in private universities. While appearing before Parliament's Education Committee, the CS also said learning activities had been paralyzed due to various factors, including accrued debt.
Apart from funding and financial programs, there is also the issue of governance, there is the issue of management, which as a ministry we are also trying to deal with, such that we get the correct and the right men and women in university councils. We get the right vice chancellors who will also be undertaken through the necessary training in management so that we get it right.
We go to Sudan, and heavy fighting was reported in and around the capital Khartoum despite a week-long ceasefire agreed to by both sides in the conflict. Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Defense Forces each appear to be trying to push the other out of central Khartoum and control areas around the presidential palace and army headquarters. In Washington, U.S. President Joe Biden deplored the continuing violence. He imposed sanctions to block any Sudanese who are impeding the push to democracy in the northeast African country from carrying out financial transactions linked to any U.S. accounts or property they may hold. This is News. I'm Dennis Osedo. Good morning.
Are you an employee in Kenya? Switch to I&M at Work today and sign up to Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan today. We offer loan takeovers and top-ups with tenure recalculated from zero. Call 0719 088 000 today. I&M Tunakujali.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
The roads are still looking okay. It's a happy Friday, it seems, because the Thika Superhighway, it's only building up around Muthaiga. Kiambu Road is not busy. Jogoo Road is only busy around the usual areas. That's Makadara heading into town. There's something happening on Uhuru Highway from South Sea Capital Centre as you head towards town, as you approach Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and then after that it clears. So let's find out what exactly is causing this particular snarl up there. Lusaka Road getting into Nyayo Stadium roundabout is also busy. Landis Road into Wakulima Market is busy, but it's moving. And then we also have the usual roads. Kangunda Road getting into Outer Ring is also busy, but the rest of the roads are looking okay. If there's any major incident to talk about, for example, what's causing this bit of traffic snarl up in South B heading towards Nyayo Stadium, let us know. We'll alert everybody else. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
8 minutes after 7. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. Ndu is away today. She'll hopefully be back on Monday. So it's Eric and CT telling you about Centum Real Estate and the projects that they have around the country. For example, 1255 Palm Ridge, Phase 2. That's in Vipingo. So Vipingo Development by Centum is asking you to go there, see what they have. From as low as 1.98 million shillings, you can own an apartment and you just pay a deposit of 10%. That's 198,000. And from there, you begin payment in installments towards your home ownership. You can send them an SMS, Vipingo, to 22365, or you can call 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215. They'll give you more information about the Vipingo development, where exactly it's located if you haven't been there, what kind of amenities they have, including clean water, close to highway, open green spaces, children's playgrounds, adequate and ample parking, and all. You'll get all that information and then you can engage. So let's talk about sport now, because we said today, Friday, we talk sports, politics, and health. The sports conversation begins now. Rugby in the country has new leadership. Sasha Mutai is the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union. He's our guest this morning. Good morning, Sasha.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. Yeah. Make yourself comfortable.
Asante sana.
Now that you are the helm of KRU, and we are watching the Global Sevens and we're seeing Kenya's performance here and there. We'll be asking all these questions. We'll be asking about our 15s. We'll be asking about local sport development in the country and very many things. You've been in this game for many years.
Yeah.
As a player, in management at various levels, seeking to be the chair of KRU not once, not twice. Now you are the chair.
Yeah.
And we were saying with CT, when he comes, we'll tell him, okay, now, you've asked, mtoto amelilia wembe. Shika wembe.
Mtoto akililia wembe mpe.
Now you've been given that wembe. But to welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week have been from the country of Togo. This is our last day in Togo. The water carrier does not drink mud.
The water carrier does not drink mud.
No.
Sasha, what do you think the Togolese are saying in this proverb?
Well, the water carrier does not drink mud. If you're carrying something, if you're carrying the water, you drink the water. But yeah, that's one way of looking at it. You know. So yes, you said.
How do you translate it into daily life?
Into daily life, if you're carrying, the burdens of the people, you have to also make sure you're carrying water, you're taking it to them. You must make sure that people get the best. That's what we're here to do. I've taken this job. I asked for it. This is the third time. I was vice chairman before. I was director before. We've seen the issues that bedeviled Kenya Rugby, and we're here to offer the solution. We bring in the water from the river and make sure we don't fall down and stumble. So we have a good team that was elected. There's been a lot of issues in Kenya Rugby. We lost confidence of our partners, previous partners, and of course that translates on the field. Like an organization, a company, if you look at a company making losses and all that, it probably goes up to their leadership. For us, it's
not probably.
It is.
It goes up to the
it goes up to the leadership,
and leadership goes all the way to the board.
Exactly.
So it's top down. Everything reflects. So the results on the pitch, when we have problems, we have a lot of good talent in the country, and we've seen it on display before. Now, what was happening? There was a disconnect between what was happening at the board and down on the field, and also with the clubs in Kenya. Now, once we lost confidence of our partners, around about 2014, 2015, no money was coming in. And you need resources to run this game. When you look at the good times of Kenya Sevens, from 2008 all the way to 2016, there was money in the game. When Kenya Airways was sponsoring Kenya Rugby, the Sevens team, we had a budget of $2 million. So we could pay coaches like Mike Friday who came in. Then afterwards we had Paul True, the best coaches in the world. We could afford them. We could afford to pay the players good money and bonuses. We had insurance, everything. I mean, the players were making more money in rugby than their day job. So they were semi-pro. They were making more money than their parents. So rugby was an avenue for your livelihood. But now it's gone, but we want to bring it back. We have a good team on the board. Young, also experienced guys. We have also co-opted in a new director who is not a rugby man, but is a businessman, Cairo Thuo. So we are saying, it's not business as usual. Kenya Rugby has changed. Next week we have a board meeting on Monday, and we're looking to co-opt 3 more directors and ladies at this. We have 1 elected lady on the board. So we need to have 4, and they will have marketing experience. So we're changing things. It's not just rugby, but business. That's what we want to run. Cairo Thuo is well-seasoned director, sits on a number of boards, NCBA, he sits on ICA Lion, he sits on Kenya Power, and now he's going to be on the Kenya Rugby board. He's an expert in tax and legal. And we want to also exploit the Income Tax Act that puts in the sponsorship. If you put money into sports sponsorships, you can get full tax deductions. So we want to exploit that. So Kenya has the laws. We now have the people, the resource. Now you'll see that the talent on the pitch will be matched with the talent on the board.
Those glory years, like you said, 2008 to 2016, things were happening, things were moving. You had sponsors coming on board. You had spectators thronging the fields. You had people watching the rugby circuits and various tournaments across the country. You had players turning up and wanting to play and join rugby. And then suddenly things just stopped working. It can't have been sudden.
It was gradual. As I said, things started going down from 2014, 2015. We lost confidence of the partners, and you see, companies like Safaricom and Bamburi left the scene. Then later on, I think 2016, 2017, SportPesa came in, but it was short-lived. Now, what we want to do is bring back the confidence. We're telling our potential partners and sponsors that it's a new board. We have new thinking, new fresh ideas. My ideas, I've touted these ideas from 2017 when I first ran for chairmanship. It's only the dates that have changed. Now we all singing from the same hymn book. Yeah, there's unity in what we are doing in the board. Again, that was a problem in the previous boards, that there's infighting, and of course, if you're not working together, nothing can happen. Yeah? So what we have is what we call in Latin consensus ad idem, a meeting of minds. We want to bring back rugby, take it to the top. We're looking at qualifying for the Rugby World Cup in 2027 for the men. And for the women, actually, it could be a faster step into the World Cup. The Kenya women are in Madagascar this month, playing in the Africa Division 1 competition. And that is a pathway to qualification for the World Cup in 2025. We also have our under-20s that played last week in the Bathurst Cup. We lost to Zimbabwe in the final. In July, we have the Junior World Rugby Trophy in Nairobi, and that's also a big honor for Kenya to host that. So we're looking at big things. World Rugby and Africa Rugby have confidence now in Kenya Rugby. So we want to put our best foot forward and move the game forward. We're also looking at expanding rugby into primary schools. And now we want to start conversations with the Ministry of Education to get rugby as a core sport in the curriculum for primary schools. And now we also want to exploit our talents in the secondary schools. So we want to bring in, to restart really Kenya schools team, national schools team. That used to be there when we were playing, but that went away. Now, if you look at a country like Zimbabwe, there was a quality difference last week, and we'll have to admit that, between Kenya and Zim. We were in the final, but you could see, and I've seen the stats of the players. They've been together for more than 5 years. You see, in Kenya, the Kenya under-20 team, I think we only had 5 players from the previous year. But these guys, the whole team has been together and moving forward. That's what we need to do. Talent identification of the talent, and we put them together, we track them, and that is how we move forward. This dream of making the 2027 World Cup, right now, our team is in South Africa, so it's a short fix, but we know we have to do a long-term solution. We have the talent, we know what we can do. We also have a few players playing semi-pro out there. We've recruited our previous coach, Jerome Pawata, who is South African, coaches the Western Province. His pedigree is second to none. He's been assistant coach of the Springboks. He's been coach of the Emerging Boks. He's coached the Heineken Cup side. He's coached Kenya. Now he's back. This happened just a few weeks before I came in. I don't know if it was the gods of rugby were
stars aligning.
The stars are aligning, exactly. But he's well proven. We also have a good technical team. Also Curtis Olago, who is the coach of the under-20, and is also the assistant coach. So we have talent in terms of also the human resource. Now what we need to do is bring in the capital, financial resources. Yeah,
we've always had talent.
Yeah, we've always had talent. Yeah,
for a long time. In fact, we've had a preponderance of talent.
Yeah,
I'd like to understand what it is that we did that drove away the sponsors. What did we do?
Some personalities that were there on the board. I wouldn't name names, but I think...
What did they do? I mean, personalities, yes, but what happened? Because it's not as though one day you had sponsors, then the following day you didn't have sponsors. Something must have happened over a period of time, and then the sponsor said enough is enough.
The sponsors were bringing in the money for those tournaments, and they were clashing with sitting directors. Unfortunately.
You're a polite man.
Yeah.
He's a polite man.
Yeah, but at least you can tell us a bit more.
Yeah.
So yes, there's clashing with the over what? Because you're not talking about just one sponsor. Like you said, there were several sponsors. There was Bamburi that was sponsoring an entire series.
Yeah.
And was doing very, very well.
Yeah.
There was Safaricom that was sponsoring an entire weekend of events and across the country, and all of these.
Yeah, so there were some improprieties that happened, and so Kenya Rugby will say, yes, that has happened. There were audits that were done. There's also an audit done and a report submitted by chairman of clubs that named names, and that is what happened, and that's a fact. So now we are saying there's a difference in management at the top. And things are changing. We're well proven, also in rugby and in different fields that we are in. And we are saying we are now setting the game forward. And our plan, if you saw the manifesto that I had sent out, we are all aligned to that. So it's increasing the player base, now also getting rugby, a professional level of rugby in Kenya.
There must have been something more, Sasha.
Yes.
Because I'm
there
just
was financial impropriety,
there was
and
that,
also clashes.
and there was then the naming of individual names.
Yeah.
But then the people, the personalities left. We are talking about close to 10 years now.
They left not so long ago. They left and they've been lacking in the background.
So what is happening then? Is it structural then? Are we saying that structurally the management of rugby in the country was one that was not
and we
attracting?
we have to restructure. If you look at also our secretariat, we need to strengthen it. Kenya is a big country. The thing is, we've grown the numbers in the game. But again, if you look at our office, we don't have the structures to run it. So we have to expand that. We have to bring in more talent. All this needs resources. Yeah. So we're looking at, aligning ourselves, telling the potential partners, we are back. We are the brand to go with, because apart from the tax issues that we're saying will exploit any company, if you put in 50 million and you can expense that fully and then get the benefits of sponsorship. But now with a platform that will be performing. And we can assure you that we're bringing the best, as you can see now with our team now in South Africa. Yesterday we played against the Springbok under-20, who are playing. They have the World Championship next month in South Africa. So we lost. It was 5-3. I got a report from the head coach, and he was pretty pleased. But he said there's also a lot of work to do. But we are moving forward. So I can assure you that you shall start seeing a winning side.
Okay, Sasha, you assured us.
Yes.
What exactly are you going to put in place that will not assure but guarantee the sponsors that their monies will be well looked after?
Yeah.
What else are you putting in place to guarantee that the monies you receive will actually grow this game to the level that you want it to grow to?
So what we'll have is involvement of those partners. So we're looking at restarting the Super Series. And the Super Series, we want it to be the professional league for rugby in Kenya. So we're looking at 6 teams, regional-based: Mombasa, Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisumu, Eldoret, Kakamega, and also involve county governments in terms of them coming in with the land. What county governments can give is land. We need now also land for infrastructure. One thing that many people may not know is that KRU is homeless. We don't have a home. We are subtenants at RFUA. We don't own land.
You're a subtenant.
We're a subtenant, not a tenant.
No, you're a subtenant at Harlequins. Yes.
Yeah. So Kenya Harlequins are main tenant. Then we have a bar over there. And KRU is a subtenant. That's the reality of it. So we've been talking to the Ministry of Sports, talked to the CS and the PS. There's a 1,070-acre land in Kasarani, and there's a master plan that was done years ago when Kasarani was being developed, that every sporting federation is supposed to have some land there. So we're looking now to secure our title deed there, and with that, now we can start development. I'm a quantity surveyor by profession, also an arbitrator, so I've been involved in quite a number of large projects, and we're going to use also that tax law to come in and build. Now, on the thing about transparency and accountability, if you look at also the board members that we have, and I've said now we have top tax guy, legal there. We have a few lawyers. We want to now, when we bring in the partners, we want them to sit and also run together with us whatever programs we are running. So like the Super Series that we will reintroduce, because that also went down when Bamburi left. So that has not happened for a number of years. And that was where we would choose the Kenya team. The best players in Kenya would be chosen. So this in the franchises, and we would choose the Kenya team.
Okay. Yeah. How many sports managers do you have in your team?
Sports managers?
Yes, people who train, understand the process of managing sports. Not someone who likes sports, and then volunteers to help.
Not a sports enthusiast.
No, not those ones. Sports managers, the sort of people who even have a reputation and whom finances would trust with their money and say, okay, this is what these guys need. We're giving it to this management team, and they will ensure that everything gets done.
On the board, we have not sports people. We have people from different facets of business. If I can name our board, Vice Chairman Moses Ndala is an electrical contractor. We have a Secretary, Ray Olendo, who is a lawyer, legal. Treasurer, Dr. Roni, he's in finance. He sits on a number of boards. We have Harriet Okach, a well-known businesswoman, also has been in county governments. Moses Mukabane, engineer, works at Kenya Power. Now he'll be sitting with his board on the boss with his boss on the board. Cairo Thuo, who is well known, as I've said, and told you what he's done. So we have trusted people on this board.
I understand.
Sports managers, we have run sports. I have been the director of Kenya Sevens during the successful times, so I didn't have to go to university to learn.
Actually,
but I've gone for also courses.
You have experience, but I think you know what I'm asking.
Exactly, yeah.
No, give it more thought,
yeah,
and see how you can incorporate such people.
What are you asking, City?
What I'm asking is very simply this. If you look at the way sports, let's talk about football and how football is run. The biggest problem we've had is you have money, you give it to the federation. Then the money goes each and everywhere, and all except where it's supposed to go. If you have people who are accredited and know how to manage these things, they are the ones who ensure these things get done. And people who are trusted, they are people who, just like he's a QS, I'm sure he's certified, I'm sure he's even a chartered surveyor. So someone does not think twice about giving him work, because you don't get there unless you have proven yourself over and over. Sports have similar fraternities. People who, when they're there, you know, the money is safe and everyone will get paid. Whatever needs to be done will get done. Because the moment the money goes to a board that is managing it, in this country, that's where we've had problems. Because the boards manage the money, and then within there, the individuals who manage it the way they want. And then things just go wrong completely.
But I will say not sports managers. We have professionals. If you look at big companies in marketing, if you look at the CEOs who have been successful, they're not marketers. They are mostly engineers. So engineers have thought process. They provide solutions. So I'll also say you don't necessarily have to have sports people managing. If you have proper managers, engineers who have proper analytical minds and will manage things properly, that's what you have. So it's a talent. What I'm saying now is the talent that you see on the field playing for Kenya is now matched by the talent on the board. Yeah.
Bado.
This is a situation room. So.
No bado.
Not yet.
No bado. I think I've explained. Lakini tutaongea baadaye. Wajua mambo ni kuongea.
So for us, like for coaching, we
so
get
you
the best
want somebody who's gone and studied sports as a discipline.
Not only studied it, practiced it, and understands it. You see, what Sasha is saying in principle is actually absolutely true. Okay? But it's like now telling me that because of the thought processes, you have an engineer heading the accountants association. I'll say, yeah, he has thought processes, but he's not an accountant. Or the Chartered Surveyors Association, whatever you call it. You have somebody who is a seasoned banker and has risen and been CEO of many banks. Yeah, he is a seasoned manager, yes, but he is not a surveyor.
Okay.
No, but I'll say
At FIFA.
I've been vice chairman of the Architectural Association of Kenya. I've been the registrar. The CEO is not an architect or a QS or a landscape architect or an engineer.
What is he?
He has a business degree.
What does he manage?
He manages professionals.
And the
and
business of the business
but
of professionals.
But he's not.
He runs the secretariat.
Architect. Yeah, he runs. Yes, the secretariat.
I think he gets my point.
Yeah,
and they clearly don't have
at the helm of FIFA.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Do we have football people who are trained as football managers?
There are people. There are people who've gone through the process. Many of them are probably players and then went through whatever courses they go to become. Because you don't just become a football player and then you become a manager. You have to have some training. There are people who are managers who've never even played in their lives.
Yes.
At FIFA.
For us, for me,
we are creating FIFA to KRU or even the International Rugby Union. Those ones.
But for rugby, I'm saying we also need to have people with rugby passion. And of course, people with who straight, no corruption. For me, rugby is all about passion. You have to. It's a smaller game than football, we have to now, I want to bring rugby to be the sport in Kenya, the main sport. I want it to overtake. So I'm very ambitious. I know we can do it. Rugby is now growing. If you go to Western Kenya, a couple of months ago, I was in St. Peter's, Mumias. I was watching teams that we had not heard of before, a number of years back. It's no longer the RVAs and Lenana School and Nairobi School. It's moved there to, Butula and Koyonzo. Those are the teams that are now playing. Butula now won the nationals this last weekend. So things have expanded. Yeah, and the game expanded from around 2011, 2012 when we took the game countrywide. And now there's rugby being played in Kilifi, so in all the provinces. So Northeastern is a place I would say we need to make some inroads. But if you look at the rest of Kenya, Kenya Rugby Union, for all its inadequacies that have happened in the last year, has expanded the game. Now what we need to do is now structure it properly. So even the previous office, what we can say is the game has grown. Yeah, it's not all bad news. Now things are changing in terms of us running it like a business. But at least the game has grown and we want it to expand more. And the previous chairman, Mwangi Muthee, his mantra was very simple. More rugby, better rugby. He just wanted more rugby, better rugby. Now, we have, with our population of over 50 million, we want this game to be the game of choice and it to be a culture. When you start playing rugby from primary school, not get into a national team and you don't know how to pass to the right. Yeah, but we have the talent. In Kenya, we start late, but now we want to start at primary school.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 8. The Kenya Rugby Union chairman, Sasha Mutai, is our guest this morning. We're talking about development of the sport, not just the sport of rugby. We'll also broaden it up a little bit into sport in the country and what we need to do. Now, you've seen the finance bill is out, and everybody's thinking, where? They're coming for everything.
Yep.
Tax your toe, tax your eye, tax your ear, tax everything you have. And if you die, we'll tax you. Okay.
How dare you die?
How dare you die, surely. Now, with all that money that's going, think about it. You want to develop, the best way to go is take a loan. And the better way to develop now is actually get an unsecured loan. And I&M Bank is saying tunakujali, and they have the best and the biggest unsecured personal loans in the country of up to 10 million shillings and to be paid in 96 months. So imagine starting from the lowest of 50,000 shillings with a tenure of 12 months going all the way to 10 million shillings with a tenure of 96 months. Are you a salaried employee from anywhere, civil servant, working in the corporate sector, in MSMEs, through enhanced unsecured personal loan, you can actually go into I&M Bank today and tell them, I want a loan. What they ask you to do is let a pay slip. That's it. Take your pay slip, they assess you, they tell you, here. And then you start repaying your loan. But the most important thing is you actually get the money that you are looking for to develop whatever you want to develop. That's the way to go. Call them today, 0719 088 000. That's 0719 088 000. I&M Bank. Tunakujali, they say.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women and only women guest.
Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry. It's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Partly sunny day in Nairobi, highs of 24 and lows of 15. We're already on those lows. It's currently 15 degrees. Mombasa, partly sunny day as well, highs of 30. Malindi, partly sunny at highs of 30. Kisumu, sunny day at 27. Nyeri, sunny day at 25. Nakuru, mostly sunny day at 25. Kakamega, mostly sunny at 16, currently in highs of 27. And Eldoret, sunny at 24. Kampala, mostly sunny at 27. Johannesburg, partly cloudy at 24. Dar es Salaam, a sunny day at 30. Kinshasa, mostly clear skies at 32. Lagos, partly cloudy at 33. London, cloudy at 18. New York, mostly cloudy at 15. Paris, light rain with a warning for thunderstorms at 20.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so I've told you in this entire stretch of the expressway, there are workers who are working on the lower road. Remember they said they'll be working on the lower road? Well, they're there. So as you're heading towards town near Bellevue at South Sea, they're there, they are building, and that is causing a bit of a snarl up because they have basically taken over an entire lane. That means if you're heading towards town, you will find that lane, you'll have to squeeze yourselves into another one, and that affects traffic flow into town. How are the other roads looking like? Let me tell you. So Thika Superhighway is busy as you head towards town. Of course, it has stretched all the way to past Survey, and then Kiambu Road is also busy as you have come towards the Muthaiga Junction. Limuru Road is busy on both sides all the way or to the first, second and third and also 4th Parklands Avenue. Jogoo Road is busy as you approach City Stadium roundabout, and then Landis Road is busy all the way into town. Also, Aerodrome Road is also busy. Ngong Road is busy at the lights, and the bypasses are looking okay this morning. North Airport Road is also looking all right. Anything more to report, please let us know on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
The conversation continues with the Kenya Rugby Union chairman, Sasha Mutai. You talked about developing the sport and saying that you're going to be approaching the Ministry of Education for partnership so that rugby can become one of the main sports at primary level.
Yeah.
Why is it important? What else would be needed? Do we need to build special pitches for rugby?
Yeah, so right now we're also in conversations with a company called American Towers. When they decommission their base stations, we're looking at doing a partnership where those circular hollow sections, that we call them CHSs in engineering, can now be deployed as for rugby posts. So we don't have that infrastructure. I was in St. Peter's, as I said, a couple of months ago, and I watched there's a final there between Koyonzo and Kakamega High, and they have the football posts, and then they have connected some wooden poles for rugby purposes. So it's a repurposed thing. So and yet you are seeing quality rugby, and that's what I want to do, to bring in the infrastructure. So get down the posts to schools that can be used both for football and rugby, get in the balls. We have Dr. Ocheng Ahaya, who is now the director in charge of development from Masenda Muliro University. So he is proven. He's brought that team from nowhere to Kenya Cup. And his passion is for development. So as I said, we have a good team of directors on the board, and everybody has been given a portfolio that they are passionate about. So women's rugby, we have Kilonzo, development, we have Dr. Ocheng Ahaya. So everybody there is well versed in what they're doing. In terms of leagues and structures, we have a young director, Leslie Mwangale. Now, the leagues as well, we have problems with it, in terms of university diaries and other teams playing. And we have just been using paperwork. They say, I was in the fixtures committee. Earlier on, we were talking, City Muga, about Bukusi. Ronald Bukusi now is in cricket. When he was general manager of Kenya Rugby, I was playing in the 90s, and I was on the fixtures committee together with Godwin Karuga and Herbert Mashiro. So we're still using the same paperwork that we came up with in the 90s. And it's 2023. So right now, Kenya Rugby is going to go tech. We'll have to get a technology partner. You cannot just be sending emails. Okay, at least we have email. But the email. Player registration forms and all that are the same things we had in 25 years ago. So we need to move with the times. We have issues now with player registrations where, towards the end of the season, you see players playing from different teams, and then there are appeals, and then people are taking photos and saying this player was playing for it. I mean, it's just a mess that can be sorted out with technology. And that's what we want to do. So we are going to change everything in rugby. The things that are going well, we will keep them, of course, and improve. But there's a lot of things that we have to move with the times. So this that thing of radical surgery, it has to happen. To move with the times, we have to.
These things, as you're saying them, I'm seeing it requires a lot of resource mobilization. And then, first of all, you must start with, this is a plan, this is the budget for it. So let's look at how we can meet this budget. Either in kind or in cash or whatever.
Yes.
What's the budget, for example, for just saying, let's have rugby in primary schools in Kenya?
So, first of all, there's one thing what we have is legacy debt. So
there too.
Yes. So we have to sort that out. And it's big.
How much?
It's about 112 million currently.
112 million in debt.
In debt. So how we are planning to reduce that is now the professionalization of the Super Series and privatizing that. So the rugby clubs there, those franchises will be private limited companies with investors coming in that will have also sponsors that now will get the benefits of the tax law, and other sponsorship benefits. But now we want people to come in and invest. We're going to give them a business plan. There's a business case of how the rugby teams are going to make money. And have investors come in. And of course, in a number of years, increase the value of those teams, and afterwards eventually float those teams on the stock exchange. We have diaspora funds, which is the biggest revenue earner for Kenya. Now, the diaspora, people in the States and the UK, they know about professional teams and rugby, especially, and they love our team. Now they'll be investing, so we want to give them an avenue for that. We have launched a soft launch of the KRU app. It was developed, and now we want to monetize it. So we're now starting to do partnerships with new partners coming in. So now we are running it like business. Okay, we look at the bottom line and we want results on the pitch, but those need resources. Rugby went professional after the 1995 World Cup. Kenya is still amateur. So we are punching above our weight. We were semi-pro at that point when I was tenure from between around 2009 to 2016. We were semi-pro. So for all intents and purposes, the players, they were working, but they were making more money in rugby. A lot of it was bonuses. We had base salaries that time of 150,000 base salary, say in 2011, 2012, 2013, and bonuses. So on 2 good weekends, if the team got to semi-final, the bonuses would reach like $5,000. So a player would go home with $6,000 in 2012, and you are 24 years old. I was not making that kind of money when I was running my own quantity surveying farm or an architect. So it was an avenue for players to actually earn a livelihood, and that is what we want to do.
Can I ask this question? What role does the sports fund play in all this?
So sports fund, I'd like also, first of all, to also thank the Ministry of Sports. They've helped us quite a bit because, as I said, we've not had that private funding coming in. So the Ministry of Sports, we send our budgets and to the Ministry of Sports, they're rationalized, and the sports fund also now releases the money to us. So like for this past week, the Bathurst Cup, last 2 weeks, Minister of Sports funded it, basically. So we wouldn't have had it without them. And we also have our programs. Right now, the Kenya team is in South Africa, so we've gotten private funding for that. We're looking for bridge finance from the ministry and the sports fund for this. So the sports fund is very integral, and we want, first of all, I've told the CS and the PS that when we get our house in order, we want to, wean off that support, because we are sure that we are capable of getting our own funding. When I was in the Kenya Rugby Union before, we were pretty much self-reliant, and that's where we need to be. So I think sports fund, the money should go into infrastructure. We're also looking at developing our own infrastructure, a purpose-built rugby stadium, and that's why now we're seeking to get our title deed. Nobody is going to invest in any real estate if you don't have title to it. That's why when you see the hot potato for Kenya Rugby is the RFUA. Because Kenya Rugby Union, we don't have a title deed. We have our assets are 15 million shillings worth for a national federation, and that's the truth. We need to increase that. If you look at our balance sheet in the AGM, it's not a pretty picture. So what we want to do is now change things the way from how they have been. We need now to speak the truth over here. RFUA is, if you look at it in the open market, that ground there would be worth more than 4.5 billion shillings. I'm in the real estate industry, so I know what I'm talking about. But yet, our assets as Kenya Rugby Union is only 15 million shillings. And those things are depreciating at 10% every year. So, and that's the truth. So we want now to secure our land, and we shall develop it, and we have told the government that we will get in private sector to come in and exploit the laws that are there. The government, current government, they're in the sports, in the manifesto, had named the tax incentives and all that, but they've hardly been used. We want to be the first sports federation to exploit that to the fullest and achieve our objectives.
What happens to Kenya Rugby if we actually get to win the series?
To win the series?
Yes.
We win the series. In rugby, there's no real prize money. The only tournament with prize money is Hong Kong, which is the most the best sevens tournament.
Why is it the only one with prize money?
So it was a commercial tournament, invitation only before, then it was absorbed into the series. If Kenya wins the series, that will take a number of years, because we first have to survive. Right now we are going to Toulouse and London, so we are the tail end.
Toulouse, this place in France?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a sevens tournament.
We're not going to lose at it.
We are going to win in Toulouse. We are going to win in Toulouse. So again, there was little investment in the sevens team. Sport Pesa came in last December because first of all, there was an arbitration, there's a case. There's been a lot of litigation in Kenya Rugby. We want to get over that chapter and say now we are back to rugby business. Rugby should be played on the pitch and not in courtrooms. And so if we also want to host sevens tournament, but first of all we have to revive our Safari Sevens. Last year Safari Sevens was cancelled. It caused a lot of embarrassment. We had invited teams, and then it was cancelled at the last moment. So we have to repair our relationships. So we are saying Kenya Rugby now is a new face, and we want to repair our relationships. We want to build our trust, and get back our partners.
How much does it cost us to host the Safari Sevens?
Safari Sevens used to have a budget of about 50 million. But now we are looking at probably to get it back with the way we want, because we have to fly in teams.
The bells
probably 100 million will be a very good tournament that we can actually have some prize money and fly in good teams. The last Safari Sevens I actually made money. It was in 2013, and I was the chairman of Safari Sevens that time. It was held at Kasarani for the first time, and we had 48,000 spectators that came in. And that was the weekend of the Westgate terror attack. Yeah. And we still had the biggest numbers ever in Kenya Rugby coming for sevens tournament. Then afterwards, a few years later, it went back to RFUA. We had outgrown that, but we had to go back there because of the broken relationships with our partners. Now what we're saying is things have changed. We want to get back to where we were, and it needs a big kick a kick in the backside. And that's what we are doing. We are moving on. We need to get back Safari Sevens to be the premier Sevens tournament in Africa. It was before. Safari Sevens was bigger than the George tournament that was in South Africa, that now moved to Port Elizabeth. But now the biggest one is Cape Town. That's no doubt. Okay. Now we want to compete. We are ambitious and we know we can do it. And Kenya, the brand of Kenya Rugby on the pitch, and our supporters. If you go anywhere in the world, Kenyans are there. Thousands of them are there. In fact, in July, Kenya has been invited to the New York City Sevens, which is it's going to have $1 million prize money. There are only 8 teams. It's a one-day tournament. And Kenya is not now top 8. We're number 13 now in the series.
Out of how many?
Out of 16.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are on relegation zone, but we are going to lose, not to lose. We are going to lose to win. Is it? So we want to get back Safari Sevens back to where it should be. Safari Sevens. I'm even talking to the CS and the PS. We're saying, and my previous plan was, why don't we have Safari Sevens and Safari Rally, back-to-back weekends?
Yeah.
Because if I look at the demographic of people flying into Kenya to watch the rally, they're the same demographic that will come and watch an international Sevens tournament.
So why don't they just stay?
And stay. And then for that 1 week in between the tournaments, between Safari Rally and Safari Sevens, you go to Mombasa, you go to Masai Mara. So this is one conversation we want to open, to bring, make Kenya a sports tourism destination. Things like that. We have to think outside the box. In UAE, you have Dubai Sevens and you have the Formula One in Abu Dhabi. I've gone there and spent 10 days. And spend quite a bit of money. So that's what you want, because come and watch this game. Big teams are coming. So if your flight ticket is the same, now why don't you go and see our beautiful beaches and climb a mountain and go see the animals in the national parks?
Or club in Nairobi.
Yes. Yeah, I usually say when you come to Kenya, you'll go see the animals and the wildlife. Yes. Those are two distinctly different things.
There's been that talk of when you took the first time the Sevens was taken to Nyayo Stadium and then it went to Kasarani, and the whole issue of why are you removing the Safari Sevens from its home? Justify that, because there's that whole issue of taking it to a stadium.
We had outgrown it. The fact is, RFUA can only hold probably 6,000 fans.
Yeah.
On 2 days, it will be 12,000. Okay. When we moved it to Nyayo Stadium, I have the numbers. Nyayo Stadium, when I was the chairman of Safari Sevens, I was vice chairman at that time, we had 45,000 spectators that came in. So we outgrew that facility. That's a fact. But now, of course, and then we moved from there to Kasarani. So in 2012, I actually had to order for the fence. There's a fence between the spectators and the field. I had to actually bring it down for safety of spectators. So we also outgrew Nyayo in 2012. So we had to move 2013 to Kasarani. And that's a fact. So that's why we need to build our stadium, a purpose-built rugby stadium with no track around it, where you can be, close to the cauldron of action, and you can hear calls and you can hear the hits. That is what a cauldron atmosphere. We have a gladiatorial contest. That is what we want. So purpose-built rugby stadium. Of course, now there's new technology that's coming. So that's what we want to leverage. It's 2023. If we look at Kenya in terms of telecoms, I think we're ahead of the world. When you look at M-Pesa and all that, and even our payment systems. Now,
what capacity are you looking at?
I would say comfortably, probably 30,000. That is modular. That can grow. So again, you don't want it too big, but you design it in a modular way. Yeah.
Sasha, everybody who's wanted to head rugby in this country, those who you've competed against in the last 3 times and previously taken the mantle, have said the same beautiful things at the beginning of their tenure. We want to transform rugby. We want rugby to be the best. We want to we are going to professionalize. In fact, people are not going to be working in rugby and then working. No. People are only going to focus on rugby. And then we see what happens. So for you, what should we judge you by within the first year Or what do you want us to give you? Do you want us to give you 2 years? Do you want to give you 1.5 years? At what point do you want people to start looking back and saying, all right, Sasha Mutai and team, here's what you said, where are we?
Well, at the end of this year, you have to see that we have a number of partners that have come in. Okay, you have to see that. Big names will come back in.
So sponsors, number one.
Yeah, sponsors. So I'm calling them. So sponsorship now technically to get in the tax incentives and all that, it's sponsorship. Okay. But I'm calling them partners.
Okay.
Because you put in the money into Kenya Rugby, you're going to get a very good return. So you're going to get value. So we're calling them partners. So we're going to bring in partners, new ones that have not been there before, and previous ones.
By the end of this year?
By the end of this year, you'll see that growing.
Okay.
We want, of course, again, now to secure our land, so to increase our asset base. Yeah, I mean, that's a straight line figure. You'll see from 15 million, we need to have gone to a few 100 million, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
so this is getting the title for...
Yeah, we have to start getting our land title and doing leases and all that. I also want to help clubs, rugby clubs, our affiliates, to secure also land for themselves. Right now, a club like Mwamba RFC, which is the first indigenous African rugby club in Kenya, after they were kicked out of Railway Club, they are homeless. So we are quite a number of homeless people in rugby, including the National Federation. It's no laughing matter, but I'm going to work hard, of course, for my affiliates, the clubs out there, to also secure land to put up their fields, you know. So that's what we have to do. And also to get the partners coming in, we need to get our leagues have sponsors. So Kenya Cup, Nationwide and Championship to have a partner that comes in, that this money trickles down to the clubs. Because the clubs, let me tell you, every weekend we've been receiving, requests and M-Pesas, and those teams are run by good rugby people, passionate people. There's no money in the sport, and yet they are there every weekend, honoring fixtures. They have to get an ambulance before you play a game. There has to be an ambulance, and all these things cost money. Paying players allowances. We need to make it a bit easier for those clubs. Some clubs, if you look at the Kenya Cup, for example, there's a big disparity between top sides like Cabras and KCB and Oilers that have serious sponsorship, and other teams, including the institutional teams. At least those have buses that can take them wherever, but they're not paid allowances. They don't have gyms, and they're competing against the Cabras, which is for all intents and purposes, and KCB professional rugby teams. So you can see in the Kenya Cup there's a huge if you see scores of 45, 50. There's a big gap. That is not helping Kenya Rugby, It's not helping our national team, and it's not helping those clubs, because they only have probably four serious games in a season. It's not going to improve our rugby and their rugby. So our interest is now to improve rugby as a whole. That's my mandate as the chairman of Kenya Rugby. I'm not just going to change a few clubs. I want to improve rugby completely in this country. And now we need to get those partnerships in also to clubs. Apart from the leagues, if the union is not attracting any money, how do you expect clubs to? So, people say rugby in your game hatutaki because they don't know what's happening there. So they're not even going to talk to the clubs. So we are saying it's a new face, rugby has changed, but the people that have been running these teams, those are passionate, brilliant people who go in, against all adversity and are playing those games, and every weekend against all that. So they are hard-working people, and I love them. And
all they needed was a support.
Exactly, and we are going to get that done.
All right.
Yeah.
So in 12 months' time, we'll look back and see, not in 12 months, in 8 months' time, we'll look back and see what have you done. Sponsors and partners back. Does KRU have its land? Do the affiliates? Clubs have their land, and then we'll be looking at the progression of Kenya Rugby. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Sasha Mutai is the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union. He's been our guest this morning, talking to us about the development of the sport in the country and what needs to happen. Keep it here for more. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
I could go.
Spice up your life.
Get Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan of up to 10 million Kenya shillings from I&M Bank Kenya.
Good morning, this is Nizo. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Kenyan Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union is against a section of amendments proposed to the National Health Insurance Fund regulations mooted by President William Ruto. This is after President Ruto, during the Labor Day celebrations, announced that once the changes are approved, salaried persons will be obligated to contribute 2.75% of their gross monthly salaries to the fund. KMPDU Secretary General Davji Atela, in a statement, noted that the state cannot claim to increase NHIF funding by adding on to the premiums when the agency is already severely underfunded. And a grade 6 pupil was electrocuted in Awendo, Migori County. Area Assistant Chief Emma Wanga says the incident happened when the boy connected a radio to a power receiver. Meanwhile, locals have called on Kenya Power to sensitize the community on handling electricity. Now, a few months after President William Ruto and his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa signed an agreement to remove visa requirements, the number of passengers traveling to South Africa from Kenya has increased. In addition, a large number of South African citizens have also had the opportunity to visit Kenya in a move that Tourism CS Benina Malonza says has strengthened the sector. Businessmen have indicated that sales have improved, that they have had an opportunity to export their products to South Africa without restrictions. Previously, it took up to 10 weeks to get a visa, which businesses say contributed to the losses amounting to millions.
We had to prepare for at least 7 to 10 working days before we get the e-visa uploaded. It was a very big inconvenience to business partners. We can move freely within African countries for the purpose of business. So I would say it needs to remain. Please don't bring it back.
Wakati kuna wanabiashara wengi tunapata opportunities hata kwa Wakenya ambao wenye wanataka kusafiri na kwenda kutafuta mali kutoka South Africa wenye wanataka kutafuta mali kutoka Kenya.
Kenya Airways has since announced plans to increase flights 4 times a day to Johannesburg and twice a day in Cape Town, South Africa. George Kamal is the strategy officer, KQ.
Promises to reduce our cost, make a proper operational profit by end of this year going into 2024.
Travel is not just tourism. We have business travel, we have medical travel. Joburg is one of the best medical tourism destination in Africa. So it is helping us to open up business, open up tourism and also merge the culture.
At the same time, CS Transport Kipchumba Murkomen has announced the intention of the government to put in more strategies to ensure that more products are sold in South Africa. He added that some of the strategies are aimed at preventing KQ from incurring losses. And Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba has been appointed as ANC Secretary General. Milemba takes over from Simon Gikuru, who has been appointed to a CAS position.
I want to thank the leadership of the party for having had confidence in me to serve in that position. And I know that ahead are a number of challenges which I believe that together with the leadership that we have, we may build the party to greater heights. We have also resolved that we shall undertake revamping of the party. And to revamp the party, beginning tomorrow, we shall be organizing to meet all the organs of the party in their totalness, and also after that, we shall then move to meet branch leadership around the country.
Across the borders, and officials in Rwanda say the search for victims is ongoing after torrential rains this week caused mudslides and severe flooding in the northwestern and southern provinces, killing at least 130 people and destroying thousands of homes. Government officials surveying affected areas said they expect the death toll to rise as several victims are likely buried in mud and debris. Deputy Government Spokesperson Alain Mukuralinda told reporters that at least 77 people have been injured, 36 of whom were still hospitalized. Now in Sudan, and heavy fighting was reported in and around the capital Khartoum. Despite a week-long ceasefire agreed to by both sides in the conflict, Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid defense forces each appeared to be trying to push the other out of central Khartoum and control areas around the presidential palace and army headquarters. In Washington, US President Joe Biden deplored the continuing violence. He imposed sanctions to block any Sudanese who are impeding the push to democracy PLC in the Northeast African country from carrying out financial transactions linked to any U.S. accounts or property they may hold. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Are you an employer in Kenya? Switch to I&M at Work today and sign up your employees to Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan today. Call 0719 088 000 today. I&M. Tunakujali.
Thika Superhighway, always a place to start. All right, it's improving actually. The traffic is only beginning at KCA University coming towards town, and then Kiambu Road is also improving. It's past DCI headquarters, heading towards Muthaiga. After that, it's all good. Limuru Road is busy both ways as you come into town and as you leave town, especially around Parklands and at Parklands Market. Then Wayaki Way heading towards town is busy around Westlands, coming into Museum Hill, and then Museum Hill heading out into Westlands is also quite busy. Nyayo Stadium has improved. Now the issue is between Bunyala roundabout and Haile Selassie roundabout on Uhuru Highway, and then you have Landis Road all the way from City Stadium roundabout, very, very busy. The other roads are looking A-OK in terms of how they are moving. No, there's one here called James Gishuru, which is not looking okay. That one is busy, especially as you head towards Westlands. It's very busy, and as you come out of Westlands to ABC, at ABC Place, it's also busy. But everybody on James Gishuru, please just be patient. You'll be moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Owning a home, especially if you're telling you to own a home in Kilifi County, and especially if you're telling you that that home is built by a reputable developer, and especially if we tell you that those homes are part of a community that's big and growing and that is vibrant. It's close. You can walk to the beach. You can actually walk to an airstrip. You can walk to a dual carriageway that's being developed between Mombasa and Kilifi. It's a lovely place. This is the future. The future will be in Kilifi County. The future will be in Vipingo. Wait till Vipingo development then starts putting up the industries, and the industries come in there. And everybody will be moving that side, working and living around there. So you want to be part of this? Please do. Call Centum and Vipingo Development on 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215. Or you can SMS them. Just text the word Vipingo to 22365. That's Vipingo to 22365. Ask them about 1255 Palm Ridge Phase 2. 1255 Palm Ridge Phase 2. Down in Vipingo. Flying down to my home this weekend. That's what you'll be saying. But you get to own. All you need is 10% deposit from as low as 198,000 shillings for the lowest unit, which is 1.98 million bob. And then you can discuss further. The rest, payment in installments. We are discussing sports, politics, and health today. We've had the sports conversation. We're going to have the health conversation at 9. This hour, let's talk about the health of a political party. The former ruling political party, Jubilee, doesn't seem to be okay. It's been sneezing, and coughing lately. And the Secretary General, the registered Secretary General of Jubilee, must have had that. The registered Secretary General of Jubilee, Jeremiah Kioni, is our guest. Of course, we've seen that the other Secretaries General who've come up. And now that's what we want to talk about, this the Jubilee House of Cards.
House of Cards?
Yes. Is it coming down? Yeah. Is it holding? Yeah. Who's the leader of Jubilee? Who are the officials of Jubilee? Let's start with who are the members of Jubilee. Mheshimiwa, karibu.
Yes, asante sana. I want to appreciate this invitation so that we can continue jengering Kenya, because we jenga Kenya from all angles. And the members of Jubilee are many, and they are in every county of this country. And they are the ones who can tell you how they want their house to be, and how they left their house when they met last year. And they are the only ones who can again sit to say, sasa tunataka kubadilisha mwenendo ya njia hii na ile ingine. Ni vizuri umesema there may be many people who are pretenders to the same title. But you also know, since our 2010 constitution or thereabout, everybody you come across is a mheshimiwa. You know, there before, mheshimiwas were only elected members of parliament. Today, everybody, even one who actually dreamed of running, if your driver is also a mheshimiwa. So titles really have even your excellency. You remember we had only one excellency in the country. Now the first lady excellency, or the first lady of the member of parliament, of the MCA, of everybody is an excellency. So when you hear people call themselves many titles that perhaps belong to others, you need to then look at the reference point becomes what is that is in the legal books, or in the legal offices.
Let's discuss that in detail.
All right.
First,
yes,
listen to the day's proverb. City.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the country of Togo. The water carrier does not drink mud.
The water carrier does not drink mud. Kenny, what do you think the Togolese are saying with this proverb?
I think a good one and a bad one, because it's like you're justifying the situation in this country. Ile ya kusema ni wakati yetu ya kukura. It is now our turn. You know, you now cannot be part of the ordinary Kenyans because you are in office. But of course, also it means that to me it means that when you are putting water in the mud in the pot, you're not going to put mud. So there is that kind of, I look at it from many angles. But the Kenyan scenario confirms ni wakati yetu ya kukura. Sisi hatuwezi beba matope, sisi ndio tukunywe ile maji sawa, nyinyi mwache wa mkikuna matope.
Isn't it fascinating how proverbs get interpreted?
Of course, a politician will interpret it from a political angle.
That's the beauty of proverbs. Because when you ask for people to tell you their interpretation, your knowledge just grows. Your store of knowledge grows. Because you hear interpretation that you couldn't have imagined or even thought of.
Totally. Yes. Mheshimiwa Kioni, yes, just for purposes of actually all of us understanding Jubilee, what are the structures of Jubilee as per Jubilee's constitution?
I think I will. You allow me to answer that, but after having said the following, that you will not look at what is happening in Jubilee in isolation to the national political environment that we have. I was here immediately after the announcement of elections, if I remember.
Yes, you are.
And I am one of the very first, in fact, I believe I was the very first elected leader to call a press conference at Pagani and tell Kenyans uchaguzi imeibiwa. And it has taken very many people, almost now 8 months, because what many said, they said huyu ni mwenda wazimu, walisema this is a madman, Muguruki. My Uguruki has gotten us to where we are, because I could tell it, you could feel it, you could sense it. To put your finger on it, it required some time. And I say this because today, if you go to the website, parliamentary website ya bunge, or IBC website, you will notice that the majority members of parliament belong to Azimio. As we speak today, Azimio has the highest number of members of parliament, Azimio coalition. They are still the majority in parliament. But the ruling by Wetangula, with its absurdity, produced us as a minority. And we have continued with that absurdity to date. There is the desire of those who are occupying government offices, not just to live with that majority, which I believe cannot be for long, but to even get themselves to a supermajority. How do they do this? By continuing to ensure, continuing to scavenge from Azimio parties. And it's a very determined onslaught on the opposition. I can tell you, even last night, members of Jubilee were in State House. Last night. Maybe they didn't take photos, maybe they took photos, but they were in State House because I was called by those who can call me, and they told me tumeitwa tuende tusiende, kabia nedeni. Now the game is every Kenyan can tell what is happening. So even before you struggle to understand the structures of a party, the structures of a party will mean very retro, because it is not the structures of a party that will be strong or weak. It is the determination for us to ensure that we are living in a hygienic environment, political environment. And when it is not there, like I've said before, and I want to say here, the law does not lead politics. Politics leads the law. Where we are now is a situation where as politicians, as political leaders, and within Azimio, we have to decide, and we have decided that we must protect our space politically.
Okay.
We did it when Kenan was picked as a member of the Semen. We said it is not a question of going to court. It is not a question because you are not certain of the outcome. It is a question of playing it politics. Why must the opposition be scattered, starting with that majority that was taken away and still remains our position? In fact, every time I'm introducing Wadai, I have difficulties calling him the minority leader, because for all practical purposes, he is the majority leader. Eric, remember, I see you looking at me with a little bit of fear, but let me tell you why you should not be
Not fear. I'm just wondering when you're going to answer my question.
Your question will be answered because it will come. Let me tell you why. You see, we cannot continue this same website, and the results are the results that produced William Ruto with his numbers. So if we then are saying we must respect William Ruto's number, why are we not respecting the same results that produced Azimio as majorities on the floor? So you can't have your cake and eat it. And this is why I'm saying now this is not an issue that you are going to see in the legal places and saying what structure, which organ, and the rest. It is an issue that we as Azimio must say, respect this, or else we have no space to talk about. We have said that we want you to lower the cost of food. Now today, the voice that can say this, charging employees 3% for housing and telling the employer also to pay 3% housing will certainly end up with unemployment. If you, like yourself, I know you belong to this bracket of those who are earning 500,000 shillings plus, know from the passage of the bill that is before Parliament now, you will be required to pay 35% of that figure. If you are paying 35% of that figure, it will be upwards of maybe something like 25,000 shillings plus. That's another employer you are going to lay off so that you can be able to feed Kenya Revenue Authority. It is only a respect of Jubilee and the parties within Azimio that the voice of the voiceless will be heard. Bibi yako na nywele kama amezoea kuweka ile nywele ingine juu ya ile ingine, the wigs, they are going to pay 5% more. If they like working on their fingernails, isiwe inakaa kama hii yangu ya kukama ng'ombe na ingine, another 5%. Ile polish ya mdomo, it is another 5%. I mean, when you start taxing those, and those are sources of, ngoja kidogo nimalize hii sentence, that is what keeps people going, that informal. You have now gone to tax the bottom. That is true. To the point where the bottom is becoming very painful. It's like having, that is true. I don't know whether you have had issues with the problem with the fibroids in your lectum. I have had that problem. You cannot sit on your bottom anymore. It is now painful. This is how painful this country is.
That. However,
the organs of the party are like this.
Your party Jubilee,
I'm now
before
coming
you even
to
go to Azimio, your party Jubilee itself has issues.
It does not have issues. It is the executive that has issues with the parties in the opposition. And they have only picked Jubilee to start with. They are heading to dismantle others. They have already taken 9 members of ODM. They have taken 2 from Wiper. DAP is also breeding. We
KUP
know
is gone.
KUP, they are trying to scavenge it so that they can leave, they can hit at Posing, to the point where they had the whole of the executive in Pokot this weekend. And Pokot had to leave the country because they had gone to intimidate him. So this is a major political onslaught.
If you had proper structures in the party, you can use those. Now,
we have proper structure, which we will take politically. And I want to say this.
Mheshimiwa, hold on.
For as long as an onslaught on our political parties is on, Maandamano is on.
Hold on. Okay.
Mheshimiwa is on a roll here, isn't
You
he?
started by saying that Jubilee has many members.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And by the way, they are now going to start demonstrating across the country against this onslaught.
So now that Jubilee has many members,
seeing people protecting
the party Jubilee, with its very many members, has its own structures, membership, leadership structure. Okay, and that's what I wanted you to start with. Just take us through this Jubilee party, right? What is it?
This
How
Jubilee
is it structured?
Party has a constitution.
Yes.
One of the most beautiful constitutions that belong to our parties. Very elaborate in its nature.
Yes.
Within the constitution, you see at the table of contents or at the preamble, you can go through the messages of the party leader and the rest. And when you go to the content of this document, again, we have what we have put there. You will then be able to see our constitution and the organs of the party and how they should be. On top of those organs is the office of the party leader, right there. Then we have the NDC, we have the NEC, we have the National Governing, we have the National Delegates Council.
That is the top.
That is the top.
It brings in the delegates from across the branches.
It brings in the members of the party from everywhere to come and decide how their party should be.
Below the NDC?
Below there is the National Governing Council. Below that,
who is the National Governing Council?
The National Governing Council is made up of those national officials. It is made up of members, elected people. It is made up of even trustees. So it's another body there that is really
with wide representation.
So what does it do that is different from
it does very little, and that is why you will not hear it being talked about.
So why was it created if it doesn't do much?
It can always be called. It's a smaller. You can call it. For
it's like a mini NDC.
Almost. It's really a top heavy. Very top heavy. It doesn't bring in the mwananchi, so to speak.
So, but it helps of being trustees. Are they the people who are the peacemakers? Because from what you've said, the representation comes from all over very many different party organs.
Yes, but the political decisions, the decisions that help the party run is at the NDC and the NEC, National Management Committee, and those are the three key institutions.
So the National Executive Committee, is it committee or council?
It's a committee.
National Executive Committee.
Yes.
Who does it comprise?
It comprises of members who have been gazetted, and there are 21 in number.
21 members.
Yes. And it is It is. It was gazetted on the 22nd of March, 2022. Just in case you wanted to know,
I'd like
the
to see
members
that,
of
please.
it.
Yeah, so I can read the members.
You are now behaving like a judge, but.
Naenda polepole tu tuelewe chama, so that when people come out here and say they are the leaders of a party, we know who they are.
Yes.
And then under that is the National Management Committee.
The National Management Committee.
What's the job of the
National Management Committee? Is like the one that does the day-to-day. You can call it, it's normally convened at almost no notice because it is the one that comes in to do those things that must be done very, very quickly.
Yes.
And then they must be tabled before a NEC.
Yeah.
Because the times may be such that you cannot be able to convene NEC. NEC must be convened within, you must give a notice. And the notice must be given properly.
Yes.
So it cannot answer to immediate thing. For example, if, for example, you have an auctioneer who has come and you need to deal with it, you cannot call for a notice of NEC and the rest and such thing. Or, matters of it has. Let me put it this way: NEC has powers to do all that. No. NMC has powers to do all that NEC can do, but everything it does must eventually be ratified by NEC when it is convened.
I see.
Yes.
Now, when is the last time that NEC was convened?
We had NEC on the last one we had was on 28th of April.
Just last month?
Yes.
Just last week?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
All right. And this is the one that had been called by the leadership of the party.
Yes, the party leader.
And they met and discussed the issues.
Yes.
Were all these members present? They're 21.
The ones who are there are the members who are there. You are invited. That's why a notification goes out.
What's the quorum?
The quorum is 7.
Or 7 of the 21?
Yes, it's a third. If you read the constitution.
Yes. Now, there are others who again met and said that they were meeting as NEC.
Yes.
And they had their own numbers.
Yes.
And they came up with new leadership structure. So now, who of these two is the legitimate NEC?
As I was walking in, I saw very many studios with people just dressed and with all those heavy things in the ears, like masks that we use when you are being hit with tear gas. They look something similar to what you have. But there was only one room that is spice.
Yes.
I didn't enter in any of the rooms and say this is spice. I came here because this is spice. And I came here because I was invited by the people who were supposed to invite us to spice. When I got to the reception down there, I said I've been invited to spice. And they were clear as to where is spice. All those organs that I mentioned in the party, the way of convening them is provided for in the constitution. Nobody will pretend this afternoon to invite a guest to spice tomorrow unless the management of spice is aware. If you have somebody who is so pressing and wants to come, you must get to spice and tell them, you may be having another guest tomorrow, but there is a pressing issue that we need to deal with. Can you step down this and allow this to happen? So NEC and NDC, and it is provided for in this constitution, only those who have been mandated to convene it can convene it. If you think that you need a meeting of any of the organs as a member of those organs, you then need to ask those who have the mandate to convene it. If they refuse to convene it, there is a way, just like in companies, directors of companies, and minority shareholders, majority shareholders, there is a procedure which you follow.
Yep.
So when you talk of NDC and NEC, and it is provided for in this constitution, for example, NEC can only be convened by the Secretary General of the
party.
And if the Secretary General refuses?
If the Secretary General refuses, you can cause it to happen, but through still, you have to be seen to have tried the Secretary General for him to refuse.
How many times? What's the threshold?
Of?
The threshold of trials. How many times must you try for you now to be enabled to actually move to the second level where you can...
There is no reason why the Secretary General can refuse to call a NEC meeting and then you go home and keep quiet. You should cause the Secretary General to call the meeting.
How do you cause this?
You write to the Secretary General.
Yes.
And you also write to the members and say, we need this meeting for this reason.
That's it.
I mean, it is just like it is done under the Companies Act. Yes.
Is it only the Secretary General, or can the Deputy Secretary General say?
Deputy Secretary General has no work until given by the Secretary General.
Only then.
If you say that the Deputy Secretary General can call a meeting, it's just like saying Rigathi Gachagua can call a cabinet meeting. Where would we have a country? He can now wake up today because they are not happy. He's not happy with William. We could see yesterday and the day before. They are not looking. They are very happy with one another. He is being left out in some luncheons, we now know. And because he's unhappy, he then calls a cabinet meeting at Karen, and then they discuss issues including removing William. That's the absurdity that we will get ourselves into if we continue entertaining these shenanigans.
So what we saw happen last week
yes.
was two parallel meetings of NEC taking place, or members of NEC meeting in two different locations on different days. But you're saying that only one NEC
only meets at the party headquarters. All party organs meet at the party headquarters. And where the venue must be different because of the number of delegates, which is the case with NDC, you must notify the public where that meeting will be. That is why we even put it in the Kenyan newspapers, so that, and you have to say the time and the venue, because it is now outside the offices.
Yes.
So if you see somebody meeting at a tree somewhere, then you must ask himself, what are you doing, Uko?
Under that tree.
Yes.
Is that the new headquarters?
Is that the, you know, I remember there are some people who say that it's also good for kids to go and learn at the tree because there is more oxygen. So could this be the new headquarters where there is more oxygen at that tree? So, I mean, this is the absurdity that must be confronted politically. Because these things cannot happen without some forces coming from elsewhere.
There must be impetus.
There is impetus, and it is being given by others.
Let's take a break.
Let me also tell you, before you take a break, the only other person who can call any of the organs and without even the statutory notices provided for under the Constitution is the party leader. Article 10 gives him that exclusive mandate, because his role is also that of ensuring that we are moving in the directions, or if we are seen to be moving out of perhaps a known direction, he's the one who calls us back to order.
Okay.
So when you again sit at that tree and then come up with a resolution to remove the party leader, the absurdity of things can never get worse than this.
We are trying to understand the Jubilee and this.
And as you understand Jubilee, no, we are now giving you an opportunity to know how political parties should be managed. The office of the Registrar of Political Parties is supposed to ensure there is hygiene. Why we struggled so hard as a country to ensure that we create the office of the Registrar of Political Parties is because there before she was mixed up into the executive, and executive was managing the political parties. And we could not get parties that could stand and say the things I've said on behalf of Kenyans. I hope that's not what we are seeing in the horizon.
Let's take this break. The Honorable Jeremiah Kioni I'm looking at the Kenya Gazette notice here, and he is the Registered Secretary General of the party.
And until you have another Kenya Gazette notice that cancels that, anywhere you go in this country, that is the only Kenya Gazette notice you get.
Okay.
And for any other to be done that way, an NDC must be held.
Okay. So we're asking ourselves, what's happening in Jubilee, and shall it hold? 26 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take that break. We'll be back shortly. Are you an employee working for government, working in the corporate sector, working for MSMEs, working elsewhere, and you're thinking, all right, I just want to develop. I need a project. I have a project I'm doing. Just speaking like Jeremiah Kioni, you want to buy 2 more cows so that you can milk better and, all those things. You are thinking of personal development. I&M Bank is saying we have the biggest and the largest unsecured personal loan in the country, up to 10 million shillings. All you need to do is go with your pay slip to them and they'll assess you and give you a loan up to 10 million shillings, from as low as 50,000 shillings up to 10 million shillings, with a tenure that extends all the way to 96 months. Okay, this is the best deal. Walk into any I&M bank today, or you can call them on 0719 088 000, 0719 088 000. I&M Bank, they say, tunakujali.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aye, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. What are they saying?
How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of God.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mostly sunny day in Nairobi. Current temperatures 16, highs of 24. Mombasa partly sunny, highs of 30. Malindi sunny at 30. Kisumu sunny at 27. Nyeri mostly sunny at 25. Nakuru sunny at 25. Kakamega sunny at 27. Eldoret sunny at 14. Kampala partly sunny at 19. Currently highs of 27. Johannesburg is a cold morning at 13, but it's going to be partly sunny day at 24. Dar es Salaam sunny at 30. Lagos mostly clear skies at 33. Kinshasa sunny at 32. London cloudy at 18. New York mostly cloudy at 15. Beijing cloudy at 18. And Paris, thunderstorms on the way. And there's an alert on that. Rain in Paris, highs of 20.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Thika Superhighway has improved. Actually, Kiambu Road is now all clear all the way as you get into Muthaiga and you join the Thika Superhighway. Pangani is clear, then Muranga Road and Wangari Maathai clear. Limuru Road is only busy as you head towards town, but as you head out of town, Limuru Road is clear until you get to Muthaiga. And now branch off into UN Avenue is busy all the way going straight into Village Market area is also pretty busy this morning. Now, there was an issue, of course, at James Gishuru. James Gishuru is still busy, but it's clearing up easily as you get into Wayakiwe, and then into Uhuru Highway is busy as you head into town. Landis Road, from Landis Road City Stadium all the way up to Wakulima as you meet Haile Selassie, very, very busy. That's the only actually very, very busy slot this morning. Ngong Road and Langata Road and the others are moving okay. Only issues is as you approach the lights.
Spice up your life. Spice up your life.
He is the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party. We are discussing political party politics this morning and looking at what's happening or unraveling in Jubilee City.
Washmua, you mentioned something interesting at the beginning of our talks. You talk about one political party scavenging and trying to raid other political parties. And you also talked about what it is that you consider the reality of which particular political party has the majority in parliament and which one doesn't. And then you talked about a ruling that was made by the speaker. My terms, but you expressed dissatisfaction with it and said it was an unfortunate decision. Please just walk us through this. Majority,
a minority
ruling, yes, please.
Yes. It's my prayer that like Kenyans have now understood, ukienda kusema fugua sava, Wakenya wote wanasema fugua sava. That this issue will also be, we will be able to explain it to Kenyans until they get it. When we voted as coalitions. When we voted for people in literally two, there were more than two, but there was the KK, where we had UDA as the predominant party, and the other parties that joined. And then we had Azimio, where we had ODM and Jubilee and Wiper as the predominant party, but we also have DAP. When people were voted in those formations, Jubilee was voted as part of Azimio.
Yes.
Wiper, ODM, DAP, UDM, which had 11 members of parliament.
They were part of Azimio.
They are part of Azimio. In the Azimio coalition agreement, there was a provision that was agreed to by all these parties that yes, after the elections, you can move from this coalition, but after having been there for 9 months. Then you give 3 months, 6 months, after having been there for 6 months. Then you give 3 months notice. And then it is not automatic. That agreement must be entered into between the parties. But the party moving has an upper hand. Because again, you cannot hold the constitutional right of association from a person. So we went to elections, and with UDM, we have the majority members of parliament even today. And wait until we are through with the 9th month, it's when you see the movements. Today, we are the majority in parliament. A similar scenario existed at the city assembly, Nairobi City County Assembly. And the speaker, who has no training anywhere near Wetangula in terms of legal prowess. We have Wetangula, I think he is a senior counsel.
Yes, we are informed that he is a senior counsel. Yes.
Had the might of making sure that those who had the majority maintained the majority. In the County Assembly of Nairobi, we have what helps the country run. The assembly is run by Azimio. The governor's office is run by KK. And the balancing of the issues and the way they debate, they are able to check the excesses of the governor. The governor is not able to just do things without reference to the assembly. So this is exactly what we needed to happen at the National Assembly. And without, I don't need to say it, it is what you have seen in the US. The Congress is with the Republicans. Executive is with the Democrats. The Senate with the Democrats. These checks and balances, you are then able to ensure that the taxing of 5% ya Nyeri is not imposed on Kenyans. This maneno ya unga would have been sorted long time ago if we maintained a majority in Bunge. Why is it, even in the Senate, not a fair game? But why is it that Senate is able to force their things? Because the numbers are almost the same. And if Azimio pulls out of the Senate, quorum dies in the Senate. But what does that mean? If we are truthful, and this is why we are saying in our maandamano, fidelity to the provisions of multi-party democracy. This is one of them. And we will be explaining to Kenyans going forward. We cannot continue allowing this absurdity to continue on the floor. We would be able to be the ones running the committees of parliament. You will hear members of Jubilee saying, oh, we were shortchanged, oh, we did not get committee positions. How many were available to a team of about 80 members of parliament? It's a debate for another day. But how I wish they understood why they needed to even fight for our majority slot.
some of members of parliament in Jubilee are accused, and correctly so, for having refused to fight when the ruling taking the majority from Azimio was made on the floor. Mm-hmm. And when you then hear them complaining of other things, they are the ones on the floor. How do you allow an arm of government taken away from you, and it is the one that should have helped you, delivered to the people who voted for you? Now they are being told, come over to the executive, we will make you start their own political party, so that Azimio can completely cease existing through inducement and going to State House. This is not an issue of law. It is an issue of politics. Raila Amolo Odinga is the best living example within now. When he chose to move and join, I think he was where? Kanu.
Yes.
And he changed parties. He said, I am moving from this party and I'm resigning from parliament.
No, the first time, from Ford Kenya to NDP.
He said, I am resigning as a member of parliament of Kibla. Because I want to come back through another party. So I am going to offer myself to the people to elect me on this new ideology. If they agree with me, I'll come. If they don't, they do away with me. Now we have gotten to the absurdity that you cannot tell. UDM 11 members of parliament, whom we even financed from Azimio, and we even gave them space because we did not allow any competition from our affiliate parties in their region. They get to parliament, and even before they are sworn in, before they even know the doors of parliament, they have defected to Karen and the other places. Now, allow me to say this.
Yes.
There is no other level of dishonesty that you can get from a leader. I lie to you that I'm led, and you give me votes because you believe in this cara led. And then when you have left the constituency, ukifika Nairobi, you are green. If we allow these things to continue, that is why this kind of finance bill will be introduced with impunity. It is for that reason, another absurdity that is happening in this country, that we are now amending the constitution through the standing orders. Our constitution does not allow members of the executive to appear before members of parliament on the floor, because we are a pure presidential system. If we want members of the cabinet, the CSs, to come before members of parliament, which is a good thing, we must go to the parliamentary system. That is a constitution amendment that must be subjected to the referendum. Kenyans wenyewe lazima waseme, tunataka kubadilisha hii sehemu ya katiba. What are we now seeing? Back to the old Kanu days, where constitutional amendments will be sneaked in through doors, rights that belong to Kenyans will be taken if we do not fight for this. And when you hear me saying the things that are now happening in Jubilee should attract maandamano in our counties, it's not a question of law. It is now the Kenyans to say, this is beyond. Is your sheria? And it will be. We will be starting maandamanos from our members in the county to protect their party. They say that, I don't want to go there, but they have said, the party leader must be moved because he was supposed to retire from politics 6 months. You know, when you interpret law like it is an ordinary, there are 3 ways of interpreting a statute. There is that way of interpreting it as the words have been put in, and it will always give you an absurdity. These characters who are moving around here have taken the President's Retirement Pensions Act and interpreted to say that the fact that he has said after 6 months you must retire from active politics is you retire so that you can get pension. Yeah. So the person who should be asking Uhuru, you are still active in politics, I cannot give you pension. That's it.
But who is retiring? Is it the person or is it the position that you're retiring?
Now, that's another debate. We can go to a constitutional court and you'll actually find that even that act is unconstitutional. But this is the thing about the absurdity about that interpretation. It is not the business of the office of the registrar. That is not an act of parliament that the registrar will quote. It is an act of parliament that will be quoted by the pensions people. That we cannot give you this money because we are told to give you when you have stopped active politics. But he also asked them, but hata sijawaitisha, I don't need your pension. I want to be active in what I'm doing.
And
you cannot use it. You cannot use that. And it's so absurd
to even see people we have nominated to even East Africa Assembly to go and represent Kenya.
Yes.
Coming up with this kind of an absurd level of thinking. Again, people who are nominated by the same party leader have now decided to come and remove him from the party.
We are discussing politicians and how politicians behave. Okay? What I wonder is...
I hope it's not a proverb. You have
no. It's not a proverb. I'm just saying, because these are politicians and we're seeing how they behave. When you had...
And they are current politicians and politicians that behaved there before.
When you had your rules of engagement about joining Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, you set down the rules. Yes, you have to... You wait for 6 months, then give 3 months notice. Now, was there a clause that foresaw a situation where someone does not abide by those requirements? And if they didn't, what could you do to hold them?
Yes. And the issue is that you'll go to the political parties dispute tribunal. And you also have to have an internal party mechanism. Now, this is why I'm saying there is the law and the politics. You can engage in those organs of the party. But if there is no honesty, you will be seen to be doing something sensible, because you can play time with time all over. If you try to get, you remember in the last parliament, there were some disciplinary issues that were instituted by different political parties. And people moved around between corridors of judicial corridors until 5 years were over. I want to tell you, the kind of scenario that we are in is not where we are going to allow ourselves to be messed by those technicalities. The office of the Registrar of Political Parties is supposed to have flagged that up to the Speaker.
Did they?
They didn't. They didn't. They were quiet. The office of the Registrar of Political Party was created to protect political parties and multi-party democracy. The space, because it is a space that will remain endangered by the executive, and it does not matter who is in the executive. So when that office becomes complacent, then we get to the kind of difficulties that we are in. Why are we where we are in Jubilee? People meet at a tree. There is no notice. They start giving notices to one another. People who attended the NEC, I have given you the list of members of NEC. Even the ones they appeared with the other day at that tree are not on that list. And then they write a letter to the registrar. They say we had a NEC meeting. The registrar acknowledges that letter and gives his force that would allow them to come and become disruptive to the party. It's until we went to court for that letter to be put aside that some bit of sanity was put back. So there are many people who need to become more. But you also understand, this office of the registrar is now being really...
It's called arm twisting.
It's arm twisting, because what did they do? They quickly put her at the Muturi. Back to the old days. Now she is at the AG's office.
And before that, it was an independent office.
It was an independent office that should be funded by Treasury and by Treasury through political parties, so that they are not subject to the executive.
But why is it that Azimio seem to be fighting a rearguard battle? Because these fellows, your opponents or your protagonists, seem clear about their intentions, and they are going about their business in whatever manner they are going about it, whatever means they are using.
They're clearly executing a strategy.
Yeah, they're clear. Yes, and you seem to be retreating. That's what I'm calling, you're fighting a rearguard battle. You are all you can see what they're doing. Why are you not responding in kind?
I will tell you we are responding in kind, and I tell you why you will see the panic in the executive. You will not be seeing it. We can tell when there is panic. This is a battle we are not going to fight as politicians. This is a battle that will be fought by Kenyans. And this is why, this is, by the way, the first interview I have agreed to be part of to explain it. The anger with Kenyan, and especially where the parties are predominant. For example, Jubilee is predominantly the heavy Mount Kenya. The anger in Mount Kenya that Sabina can now say, and he has removed Uhuru as a party leader. That anger will force people to the streets. Kenyans need to understand the conmanship level that is in the management of their affairs today, for them to say enough is enough. And when Kenyans say enough is enough, you no longer need to read them. I want to take you back to 2 days ago. Raila Amolo Odinga says, we have maandamano. Tomorrow, 2nd of February, 2nd of May, is a holiday. We will be out in the streets. Yes? And we have our intelligence, of course, many things I don't want to explain. We says, wacha tuone nani wanakuja kuharibu mali ya wenyewe. So we hold our people back. The people who had been organized to come and cause mayhem, come, and they cause mayhem. Because Kenyans are running by the day. So when we now tell them, your voice against these punitive taxes, the voice that is only available to say, bei ya unga ishuke, the voice that is only available to say, we cannot have a country where our children are not going to school because a government, our people in government have imposed new school fees. And we are still collecting taxes even higher than what we were doing before. It is that voice that is being taken away. Ndio mtoto asiende shule. We want you mama, na wewe baba, tokea kwa barabara, ambia hii serikali waache kutuchezea. Walisema saa hii ndio naambia, waambie watajua hawajui. So even this battle you are seeing of Jubilee, and I can tell you this is a discussion that we have had, where Tagura was going to rule against us and say that we have not given Sabina an opportunity to be heard. We told him, there, we'll be in the streets tomorrow. Then he came up with this funny ruling of saying replacement means you must give me 2 names. And what are they trying to do? They want to buy themselves 1 month where they can manipulate the political parties until they get Jubilee out of Azimio. That is why they had a meeting in State House last night. And I'm telling the followers, supporters of Jubilee and Azimio, wake up. Do not allow these things to happen.
How many Jubilee members were in the State House meeting last night?
Don't have that detail. I wish they could give us the photos. These are the photos that, you know what, I don't know. So they come and tell us.
You had your people.
We'll get the details. Okay. Si hata wewe kwani, si unataka tupigane vita, unataka kunipiga vita na mimi ninapigwa vita na watu wengine jamani. Si uruhusu. I
want to ask you.
But it's an honest question. I haven't gotten the numbers.
Because I'm looking at the list of the NEC members, and I'm asking myself, is it possible, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, that the people of Jubilee could be with these so-called renegades in the Jubilee leadership?
We can only tell this at the delegates conference.
So can you call one? Because I'm looking.
We have already called one on the 22nd of May,
which this new team said this one is illegitimate.
Now there you go. If you are certain of yourself, fungua server. If you are certain of yourself, kuja kwa NDC. Kwa nini unajificha unapitia kwa dirisha? You see, it is the same behavior of people trying to benefit from positions without going through the correct channels and trying to use the legal technicalities that will keep you becoming a nuisance to others. As we sit here, there is one of the tribunals that they are controlling that is sitting in a hotel, and they want us to appear before them in a hotel, Fairview Hotel. And they are supposed to be sitting at the party headquarters.
What tribunal is
this? A Jubilee tribunal.
A Jubilee tribunal. And you can actually see somebody sending you a character in the night telling you must appear.
Who sets up a tribunal? Who has the mandate to set up a tribunal?
The tribunal is set up as provided for. It's an organ of the party.
Yes, it is. But
some of those people are some of those people are not even in that organ. They have been put on. Now, let me tell you the other dangerous thing. In politics, there is the issue of trust. And you can actually see Kenyans vote for you because they trust you. When you breach that trust, it is what brings around the revolution. One of the biggest things that has happened within Jubilee is individuals who are supposed to protect the interests of the party have breached the trust. For you to be nominated, for you to be called an executive director, the party has trust in you.
Yeah.
For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo, hata mambo hii ni utaona dunia tu.
That's what I was asking you. Maybe The other side has the people. Because you look at from executive director Wamboi to Adan Keinan to Joel Kibe, Njenga Mungai, Wanja Maina, Mulembe Mundalo, Fatuma Gedi, Recho Nyamai, Kanini Kega, Mutava Musiemi, Abdulkadir Haji, Roweida Mohammed, Kagwe Geshohi, Joshua Kutuni, Jeremiah Kioni, David Murathe, Nelson Zuya, Peter Musitet, Naomi Shaban, Kenoti Katobu, Jimmy Angwenyi, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. How many of those are on the renegade side? Question to ask ourselves. Thank you very much.
We had a NEC on the 28th, chaired by the party leader. We had quorum. So we have shared those minutes with the office of the registrar. In that meeting, there are those we decided to expel, to get out of, and the letters are on the way. They will be going at the opportune time. And again, we also ask ourselves, why do we nominate you to go and betray the people of Kenya? You are eating the sweat of those others who never got that. You have a salary, and you are using your salary to even deny them the voice.
Time for the news. Thank you very much.
Tunashukuru sana kwa
documents that you came with.
Na watu wakuje Fairview wale ambao wanapenda chama waende waseme hapo haina maana.
Bulletin now. Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni says that only Jubilee members can solve the wrangles within the party. He told Spice FM that the wrangles in Jubilee are sponsored and that the government is doing all it can to ensure that the Azimio's majority, according to IEBC website and parliamentary website, belongs to Azimio.
The members of Jubilee are many, and they are in every county of this country. They are the ones who can tell you how they want their house to be and how they left their house when they met last year. They are the only ones who can again sit to say, sasa tunataka kubadilisha mwenendo ya njia hii na ile ingine. It's the executive that has issues with the parties in the opposition. And they have only picked Jubilee to start with. They have already taken 9 members of ODM. They have taken 2 from Wiper. DAP is also breeding. KUP, they are trying to scavenge it so that they can leave, they can hit at Posing. To the point where they had the whole of the executive in Pokot this weekend. And Pokot had to leave the country because they had gone to intimidate him. So this is a major political onslaught, which we will take politically.
He says that political leaders within Azimio have decided to protect their position politically, for they're asking why the Azimio party is still being battered by the government. He says that the only way the government will hear the plight of Kenyans is when the opposition is respected.
So if we then are saying we must respect William Ruto's number, why are we not respecting the same results that produced Azimio as majorities on the floor? So you can't have your cake and eat it. And this is why I'm saying now this is not an issue that you are going to see in the legal places and saying what structure, which organ and the rest. It is an issue that we as Azimio must say, respect this, or else we have no space to talk about. It is only a respect of Jubilee and the parties within Azimio that the voice of the voiceless will be heard. Bibi yako na nywele kama amezoea kuweka ile nywele ingine juu ya ile ingine, they are going to pay 5% more. If they like working on their fingernails, isiwe inakaa kama hii yangu ya kukama ng'ombe na ingine, another 5%. Ile polish ya mdomo, it is another 5%. I mean, that is what keeps people going.
Polish mdomo. It's called lipstick. Now, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, is against a section of amendments proposed to the National Health Insurance Fund regulations mooted by President William Ruto. This is after President Ruto, during the Labor Day celebrations, announced that once the changes are approved, salaried persons will be obligated to contribute 2.75% of their gross monthly salaries to the fund. KMPDU Secretary General Dav Giatella, in a statement, noted that the state cannot claim to increase NHIF funding by adding on to the premiums when the agency is already severely underfunded. Now, a grade 6 pupil was electrocuted in Awendo, Migori County area. Assistant Chief Emma Wanga says the incident happened when the boy connected a radio receiver to a power source. Meanwhile, locals have called on Kenya Power to sensitize the community on handling electricity. And officials in Rwanda say the search for victims is ongoing after torrential rains this week caused mudslides and severe flooding in the northwestern and southern provinces, killing at least 130 people and destroying thousands of homes. Government officials surveying affected areas said they expect the death toll to rise as several victims are likely buried in mud and debris. Deputy Government Spokesperson Alain Mukuru Adlinda told reporters that at least 77 people have been injured, 36 of whom were still hospitalized earlier today. And an attack by unknown gunmen at a school in Pakistan's northern province of Khyber has left 8 school staff dead and 2 others injured. The attack took place after exams at a local high school. According to District Police Officer Muhammad Imran, the dead include 5 school teachers and 3 members of the school support staff. The dead and injured are all men. And Russia unleashed its worst attacks in Kyiv in a year, according to Ukraine's military, as for the 3rd time in 4 days missiles and drones hit the city. The barrage came after Moscow accused Ukraine of attempting to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin in a drone strike at the Kremlin overnight on Wednesday. Allegations Kyiv has vehemently denied. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hiya. What's happening on the road? Let me tell you. Kiambu Road, it's now clear. Thika Superhighway is only busy around Muthaiga Square heading in towards the tunnel, and then after that it clears. Uhuru Highway is now looking all the way. Okay, no. Mombasa Road is looking good. When you see Uhuru Highway beginning at Nyayo Stadium roundabout going all the way into town, now that's where the busy business of the day is. Jogoo Road into Landis Road, busy. Landis Road into Haile Selassie, very, very busy. All the way up to Railways, it's all pretty busy. And then Kangunda Road, as you get into Outer Ring Road, is also busy. Langata Road, it's moving. Ngong Road is moving. There was an issue on James Kishoro Road. James Kishoro Road is still very busy as you approach ABC Place, and then thereafter it moves. But there's nothing else major to talk about. Just be patient on the road.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9. Good morning and welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room this first week of May 2023. Yes, we said we're getting into May. May comes June. June, budget. Do you man's a mambo ya budget? Have you seen today?
Yep.
Everybody's like, hiya. Ati, they'll charge us for what? Hey.
Ati,
they want what now?
My friend, it will increase. Why don't they just preempt all of it and just balance it? Forget the 35, make it 40.
Like you said, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This thing of at 3%, forget it. Make it 5. Yes, so that we know what we're dealing with.
You said make it in twos.
Yes.
It's either 20%.
Yes. Or if you feel that you need a little more, make it 40. Don't talk about this 35%. Yes. 5% is also disturbing.
You don't do 10. Well with odd numbers.
No, make it 10 so we know exactly. You pay 10, your employer pays, that sort of thing. And this thing of the dollars, U132, U136, 200, immediately. Fuel, stop joking with 177, make it 200 shillings a litre so we know exactly what we're dealing with. Yes. If you want to drive, you drive. You don't want to drive, you don't. If you want to buy a bicycle, buy a bicycle. If you want to buy a motorbike, you decide. Make it easy for people to make decisions.
City.
Yes, please.
Kama uko na pesa inakusumbua.
No.
Wewe sema.
What's this 177 shillings per litre?
Unataka kuspend, ni sawa.
No, it's the arithmetic that bothers me. 177 shillings and 25 cents. 200.
How much is change?
Yes.
You just keep us. You're going there, okay, so how much am I expecting for change here? Because of bought
177 if you give 1,000, how many liters do I get? 200 is clear. I get 5 liters. I don't have to worry.
You want easy math?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So let's move into our final conversation. We said today we're having sports, political party, and then mental health. It's Friday, it's a Health Friday, and on Fridays we have Healthy Friday conversations. Today we want to talk about our mental health as a country. It's a conversation we've had here a number of times, and it's a conversation that every time we see things happening, we see 2 arraigned for robbing and stabbing a college student to death. Somebody who was accused of murdering her lover is in court. Somebody who, I don't know, there was a story sitting about...
Someone killed the wife, the pregnant wife, the baby also died. Someone killed a partner, hid the body in the house. Hey,
Yes.
man, it's from one gory story to another, to another, to another, to another, to another.
Yeah. Aye. Now, it's all these things, are they linked to the state of our mental health as a country? And that's what we want to discuss this morning, which is why we've invited 2 people to join us for this conversation. So now, the conversation is beginning. And Sylvia Kasanga is a former senator, and she's a mental health advocate. She spearheaded a bill through Parliament, and that bill is now law, and she'll be telling us how that law is now being applied. She's here. She's a guest. Diana Watcher has been here before. She's a clinical psychologist. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, well, nowadays you just can't call people ladies. Just you must be sure. But we've been sure with you before. Good morning, Diana and Sylvia.
I don't know what Eric is suggesting.
No, Eric doesn't want to cause offense. Yes.
You never know, but who said I'm a lady?
You need gender clarity. Yes. Somebody may even have a plural attached to them.
I tell you.
So it's not he, she, it's they. Now. And what if we offend they by saying he or she?
I was actually in a panel where people were asked to introduce themselves as, are you a she, he, they? So it felt very strange to say, my name is Diana, and I identify as she.
And you're wondering...
What else?
But it was so normal to everyone else, except for the older generation who took offense actually and said, you know what, this is not how we introduce ourselves. My name is so-and-so and I'm fine with it.
Yes.
That's it.
You can
so
clearly
it's
see.
interesting.
You can look at me, and even from my name, you can tell. Okay? Karibuni sana.
Asante.
We're going to have a conversation. Let's begin with the day's proverb. City.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week ending today have been from the country of Togo, whose capital is... Okay. Capital of Togo, the 2 of you. This is an example.
Is it Lome?
Okay, what do you think? It's still Lome.
Nice.
What does she get?
Yes. No. So long as you think it is Lome and you know it is Lome, same thing, it is still Lome.
Yeah.
Okay? The water carrier does not drink mud.
The water carrier does not drink mud.
Yes.
Sylvia?
Interesting.
Wacha kustuka. You're trying to decipher this.
Yes, I'm trying to think it through. The water carrier does not drink mud. What business would I have, say as an architect that I am, doing something a doctor does, for instance? What business do I have? I am made for water. Why should I take mud? I will have poisoned myself. And I think in the mental health sense, I would put it, let me think, to put it in a mental health conversation context. I've been advised by practitioners like Diana here that you need to have that self-awareness to understand yourself. So if I know my family line has, psychosis, for instance, they suffer psychosis, then what business do I have in my leisure time, say smoking bang? Because obviously it will cause me to be extremely psychotic, or it will get me extremely sick for that matter. So you cannot mix that which you're made for, that which is yours, which is your purpose. You can even extend it to that sort of thinking. Why drag something else that will poison that which you have been made to be? I'd put it that way.
What?
Very deep.
Yes, sawa. Diana, what's your interpretation of it? She's quoted you in her thesis.
I like to put it in simple terms.
Okay.
Keep it pure.
Keep it pure.
Yes, do not mix issues. That's my interpretation.
You know, right on the button now, when we look at mental health, aren't we dealing with mixed issues?
We are dealing with mixed issues.
How mixed?
It's part of life to deal with mixed issues. There's no perfect place that any one of us can be in. Think about your own life, for example. You're here, you're happy, you're giving us very good proverbs. You're here, for example, having very good conversations here with Eric and the rest of your colleagues in the office.
Yes.
And having very good interactions with your audience. But there's certain issues, for example, at home that is going on that you're not telling us, right? So there are certain issues that is affecting, we're talking about tax conversations today, that is affecting all of us. There are environmental challenges. We're talking earlier with Sylvia, and she told me she's getting the space of climate change and planting trees. And some of us have been affected by the drought, for example. Now we are having conversations about floods in different areas. So there's no one thing that you'll say you will always be mixed. There are many issues that is going on within a person that can influence how they feel.
So what you're saying is, as far as human beings go, absolutism is a concept that only makes sense when you have this interconnectivity of very many issues.
Yes.
That's what now makes a human life possible. But then when it goes wrong, or when things happen that affect others adversely, then we have to ask, how do these people think? What is it about their mind that gets them to this place?
Yeah.
Now that is a deviation. And that's where the two of you come in. Do we have a situation in this country where we are seeing extremities of this situation? Or is it something that can still be understood, managed and handled, or managed?
I like to stay very hopeful. We can understand it better and we can manage it better. But the question to ask is, what are we managing to start with?
Okay.
Right?
Good. What are we managing?
Yeah. So let's think back, and I like that we've started having mental health conversations more and more in Kenya. It's been going on in other developed countries, but especially because of COVID, we've had very many mental health conversations in different spaces, at the workplace, at home, in schools with our kids. So it's a good place to start with. When COVID hit, we found ourselves in a space of we were always running and doing many things. Now all of a sudden you're with your family members, people you like or people you don't like. You find yourself in the same space. People lost jobs, right? Now you're having to manage time in terms of, how do I take care of my sick parent? How do I take care of my sick child? How do I take care of myself? And then because of the high level of stress, we've also seen people going into the space of taking a lot of alcohol and abusing other drugs. During that time also, there are many cases of domestic abuse reported. And as we got out of COVID, we found ourselves running to catch up, playing catch up. And looking at the current state of our country, we found ourselves in a political climate where everything was very heated, right? So there was a lot of many mixed issues that is going on at a country level, community level, family level, and also at an individual level, which has exacerbated the mental health level of a person, or for all of us. So I think, in my understanding and in my conversations with different people and in my observations, that's what I'm seeing. So that's why we're here today.
Yes, I can add. I can add on to that. Thanks, Diana. You know, Eric, you've asked that are these things we are reading about, are they connected to mental health? Are the events we are seeing happening? even in Kilifi County and everywhere, are they linked to mental health? And when you ask that question, in fact, the first thing that comes to my mind is that imagine those are the ones that have made it to the news.
Yeah.
Those are the few that have made it to the news. What else is out there that we don't know? And there's no question about it. It is linked to mental health. The fact that there's not enough awareness being carried through is the first biggest challenge I feel that we have, because then we don't even know what it is that we are dealing with, and hence we ask the question. And, in the last 5 years when we were in Parliament, when I was in Parliament, this conversation was alive fully. And a lot of work was done by government between 2018 and 2022, when the Act of Parliament was finally assented to, when the bill was assented to. There was a lot of work done. We had a task force on mental health that went around the country and established the state of mental health in the country. And one of their recommendations was we have to declare mental health an emergency, a health emergency. That was one of their first recommendations. Yet, even at that time in 2019, and that was before COVID, that was not done. Then came COVID, and the impact of COVID that Diana talks about. Of course, we all know what happened, and this was a global conversation. Yet we did not declare mental health the emergency that it needed to be declared, so that we can focus on it. We can put in funds that are required when you declare an emergency, and we can get some structures rolling out on how to handle mental health in the country. It didn't happen. But the ministry went ahead and did an action plan. So we have an action plan for mental health, a very comprehensive one, by the way. I participated in it. We went ahead with the help of UNDP to create an investment case. So Kenya has an investment case on mental health that shows us what is the burden on the economy that mental health has, when its citizens are suffering. We actually have those documents beautifully written. The statistics are there. There's a figure to it. I think it is in the tune of 62 billion per year that we are losing because we are not dealing with mental health issues. And all these documents show us, then this is how we should deal with it. Then we have the Act of Parliament that was supported unanimously across the houses and across all the stakeholders, the practitioners, the what are they called? Community-based organizations and NGOs came together. CBOs came together to work on an Act of Parliament, which is in itself a fantastic piece of legislation that is now being used by other jurisdictions. They're mirroring what our Act of Parliament has. And yet, we can sit here today and say, why are we not feeling the impact of all this work that we have done? When are we really going to start dealing with this issue? When are we going to truly define what it is that we need to deal with and start dealing with it?
The fact that we have what you've just described, does that not tell us that we actually acknowledge that there is a problem and that perhaps this is what we think ought to be done, and we have taken steps to do something, but clearly you're intimating that it is inadequate?
It is absolutely inadequate. In fact, I posted on my Facebook page, for those who follow me, just I think last week, or was it the week before? I put all those documents and I took a picture and I said, what was the point for all this work if we are not even taking one step now, next step? Now,
what step would we take?
See, we have a mental health board now. Since the Act of Parliament was assented to, a board was gazetted. A board that is comprised as the Act recommends, or rather as the Act prescribes.
We have sitting members of that board.
We have sitting members of that board. They were gazetted. It's a fantastic board. It has representation from across. Everyone is represented in that board. But the board has not been inaugurated. The board has had a few sittings and now cannot continue sitting because there's no budget. When I asked, I was told there's no money. My expectation would have been that by now, we are feeling the impact of the board as it starts rolling out the action plan. Part of the action plan is to get the counties, all of them, get their boards in place. Every county is supposed to have a mental health board or secretariat to start dealing with county-specific programs. Because every county is unique to itself. Diana will tell you, every county is unique to itself and will require its own program, sort of to plug into the national program. Every county is now supposed to have a budget line in their CIDPs for mental health. Some counties have, most don't have. We have such a long way to go.
So we acknowledge half-heartedly that there's a problem, but we don't want to confront the problem. That's our problem.
You can say that.
It goes to the level of the president saying, yeah, I acknowledge publicly in a national address that we have something is not right. And let's establish what exactly is the extent of this thing that's not right. He's told this is what's not right. In fact, go out and proclaim that we have a thing that is not right here and call it an emergency. He doesn't. So basically we do not want to confront this. And that clearly is, maybe that's you now diagnosing and saying, see?
Do not want to?
It's because we are unwell, Diana.
Yeah.
That's why we can't, accepting it means that we start rationalizing it and start dealing with it.
Yeah. But remember what I said earlier about being hopeful. You know, at the end of the day, Sylvia, I like... Sylvia has been a big champion in terms of the mental health conversation, and I saw her in Parliament many times trying to push for the bill. And thank you so much for your efforts. And hopefully your work doesn't just go. It's not all in vain.
No, it won't.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have to take personal responsibilities in what's going on with us.
At what level?
At a personal level.
How do you mean exactly?
Because you see, you can't say it's about someone else, right? You can't make it about other people. You can't make it about the country. But the question is, at a personal level, what responsibilities can you take, right? It's important to do that, right? And do we even do a check-in with ourselves to begin with? Or are you on autopilot all the time? Like, you're just moving and not asking questions about what's going on with you. Are you checking your environment, for example? And in the mental health space, one of the things that keep us from going into extreme stress, for example, is the social connectedness conversation. Eric, if I ask you, 2 or 3 people, would you name in your dreams or when you're awake, when you close your eyes? Think of 3 or 4 people, or even just 2, that you can call on at whatever time of the day, that you can rely on to support you, whatever support you need.
And I'm sure that they'll be there.
Yes. Do we have those kinds of people for ourselves? Because it's important for us to establish those kinds of people for ourselves. Because research has shown that social connectedness can help us deal with depression and anxiety symptoms. It has shown that it actually, even having social connectedness can increase your lifespan. It has shown that when you have social connectedness, your immune system even goes up. So even your ability to fight off diseases is elevated. So there's a lot of benefit in having social connectedness. Are you connected to other individuals? Are you connected to your community? Are you connected to the country at large? So that's one of the ways to stay grounded and to understand mental health from that perspective. Because not all of us can afford mental health support. Not all of us can go to a professional to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Like what you're saying, but some of that connectivity can be toxic.
That's true.
Mud and water.
Choose your network carefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get rid of the toxic ones. The thing is, I think, Diana, is do we know that we need to do this? When you say we need all to take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
For me to do that, and for me to basically just stop this wheel from running and me just running on the wheel, I need some external awareness to come in.
Yeah.
I need to know that I need to take a pause and do all those things that you're telling me, reflect and see what I need and see what's going on in my life. Nijiteka mkutano nyuma ya tent.
Lazima.
For all those things to happen,
other
things need to happen. I need to, first of all, to be aware that it's important for me to stop and pause.
Yes.
And when I stop and pause, I don't lose it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, where we are at, my friend, everybody feels that pressure of I can't stop.
Yeah.
I cannot afford to stop.
Yeah. You can afford to stop because the glass will break. There'll be no container to hold that water.
Okay. Let me ask this question, Diana, because this is your area of expertise. Huh?
Yes.
In all these conversations, do we look at the psychological power of example? The power, so whether it's societal, whether it's, again, the groupings that you talk about, just broadly speaking, think about the societal influences that are around you.
Yes.
That it will now include the religious influences, your own family, the politicians, and how that plays onto our psyche, and how that is, should we say, a constant, so that even as we talk about mental health, the one prevalent issue that seems to stand out is we have a certain mental position about certain things.
Yes.
As Kenyans, okay? About money, about relationships, about family, about religion. Now, that mental state, the one that people either aspire to or people want to be associated with, is that even a healthy mental state to be in?
That's a good question to ask. So that's why it goes back to self-awareness. You see, for example, what defines a culture? Or even let's talk about the basics. What defines a mental disorder, for example? Or even what defines delusion when we break it down? You know, delusion is a belief that a person has. But what makes this belief abnormal?
When it's magical.
When you believe actually you're experiencing magic, right? That you're an invisible person. But what does the culture say about those kinds of beliefs that a person has? Because also, how do we describe abnormal behavior? Right? Abnormal behavior is when it doesn't merge or align with the cultural beliefs of a society. That's what we call an abnormal behavior. Right? So what, for example, a culture will describe to be normal, for example, let's talk about FGM. In certain communities, it's normal to circumcise girls and boys. But in others, it's abnormal to do that because culturally, it's wrong, right? So it depends also on the context of the culture. You can look at the individual, but also normally, what do we practice? What do we call a norm? What is the norm for us? But then they also what we need to be careful of is when it goes to the extreme of people dying, for example, people being neglected, people not getting education, people not, doing the things that we, in our culture as Kenya, we consider normal. Going to school is considered normal. Helping our family members is considered normal. Helping ourselves to get medical attention is considered normal. Right?
Yep. You know what, when you talk about normalcy and the progression of how it is we move towards accepting certain things as normal, the thing that tops that list for me is how we entertain and how we tolerate corruption and how it is, and how we've normalized it so that we categorize it.
Yeah.
It isn't theft if it isn't a certain amount. If it's a certain amount of money, there's somebody who's just busy, anajitafutia to a deal, okay, and a hustle. Beyond a certain amount, then, this is now wrongdoing, okay?
Yes.
When it goes beyond that, then you say, now this is theft, okay? But we've accommodated it and we've normalized it. Even our children understand that when a policeman stops you, they ask you, do you have change to give the policeman?
That's true.
They've understood. So we've normalized it.
Yes.
Now, that for me, and the greater influences and the influences, or for instance, when we normalize and say that when politicians say things, we must understand that they're speaking. They're actually lying. But we are saying we must understand that when politicians speak, you don't believe everything they say. It's just political.
It's politics.
It's politics. And they're lies, outright lies about what should benefit people Now, the influence of that is people get to believe that when politicians speak, nothing will come out of it. Now, when you have a body of people whose mandate is to make sure that we actualize some of these things that we bring into law, and they are the ones who, for whom or to whom or within their bracket, the mental health issues are nestled more than anywhere else. Because if you belong to a group of people whose mantra and whose daily existence is based on telling and truths, and you've normalized it, there's really something wrong. And you are people who, you may not know it, but because of the public position you hold, you set examples.
Yes.
The value system that you represent becomes normalized. People get to believe that that is how we should go about it. If it's in the religious forum, this disaster that we're now talking about, the progression is not something that is mired in mystery. It's very clear. You can actually see the path.
But the question is, we need to hold each other accountable. It's about accountability. You see, for example, I know this is a discussion that we need to have about it further, but the Nyumba Kumi initiative, in my angle, I think it's very important to have a progression towards that angle. Because maybe it took a position of legal issues and other things that came in. But if we just focus making Nyumba Kumi a social initiative, for example, it can have a lot of benefit in terms of holding your neighbor accountable, in terms of holding each other accountable. If you see something that you can actually report to the police. So in terms of even that social setup is important. At the end of the day is accountability. If we hold each other accountable, then we'll also be able to hold our politicians accountable. But because we don't even hold ourselves accountable, how do you expect other people to be responsible for you?
Spot on.
Let me just add to that.
Hold on. Let's take a break. Then we come back and continue the conversation. We are talking about our mental health and the state of the nation's mental health. All these things that we are seeing in the country. You know, the shakahora, the issues of cultism, and then the issues of things that we are seeing, just extreme violence that's just becoming normalized. Nowadays, it's okay just to see someone murdered their pregnant wife and buried them in their compound, and it's just like, hey, now you're nah, and we move on like it's nothing. These conversations, maybe they have a relationship to a state of our mental health, and that's why we have two people in the studio this morning. Diana Wache is a clinical psychologist, and Sylvia Kasanga is a mental health advocate. She was a senator in the 12th Parliament. Was that the second Senate? Or
it was the third Senate.
Third Senate, and she championed the Mental Health Act that's now in operation. 23 minutes to 10. Time for that break. Back shortly.
We are fair.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you an employee in Kenya? Switch to I&M at Work today and sign up to Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan today. We offer loan takeovers and top-ups with tenure recalculated from zero. Call 0719 088 000 today. I&M. Tunakujali.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself.
What's happening across the country? Sunny in Nairobi is 16 degrees and highs of 24. Mombasa mostly sunny, highs of 30. Malindi sunny at 29, highs of 30. Nyeri sunny at 25. Kisumu sunny at 27. Nakuru sunny at 25. Kampala, Uganda, sunny at 27. Johannesburg, sunny at 24. Dar es Salaam, sunny at 30. London, mostly cloudy at 18. New York, clear skies, highs of 15. And Paris, thunderstorms this morning. It's a rainy day, highs of 20. Yeah. Are you talking about the sheep or sheep goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mbagathi Road at City Mortuary. Well, avoid that road if you can, because there's a snarl up that's heading into the City Mortuary roundabout. And then Thika Superhighway has stretched all the way now past Utalii College coming towards town. But Kiambu Road is clear, so that means that road is clearing up. Limuru Road is also clearing up. Uhuru Highway into town is busy from Museum Hill coming towards University roundabout. Uhuru Highway heading into town as well from Mombasa Road side is busy from the roundabouts. That's Bunyala and Nyayo Stadium. Those are the main areas that we are looking at. Well, Landis has been crazy from morning, and this is Jogoo Road into City Stadium roundabout, busy. Landis Road from City Stadium roundabout coming all the way to Wakulima into Haile Selassie roundabout, also busy. But that's it. Nothing else is major that is showing a big traffic snarl up. Everything else is moving.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. In the latest plan tabled in Parliament for MPs review, Kenya is seeking billions of shillings to purchase houses and mobility vehicles for visiting presidents and other international VIPs, emphasizing the liability of running Kenya's foreign affairs on taxpayers. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs CS Rachel Omamo, the procurement of these houses is aimed at cutting reliance on five-star hotels and will secure accommodation for the foreign luminaries. The ministry has not yet released the strategy budget. Now, the Capital Markets Authority will no longer flex the rules for raising funds privately. This in an effort to protect naive investors and conceal gaps that big firms such as Saito use to raise billions of shillings without regulatory inspection. Henceforth, firms seeking to raise money through secluded offers will be required to produce a list of budding financiers before tapping the market for the funds, and the registry must be provided to the regulator. Companies raising money privately will not be allowed to advertise, market or use agents to notify the public about the fundraising. And the Kenya Private Sector Alliance is keen to team up with the Japanese government to upsurge value addition of its exports as the symmetry of trade inclines towards Japan. Kenya anticipates value addition of its exports to help in commencing a solid economic growth to help narrow the gap with Japanese investment and technical expertise. The Industrialization and Trade CS Betty Maina said that 2022 marks the 29th year of notable achievements of the African-led development and international cooperation with Japan through the Tokyo International Conference for Africa Development, which began in 1993. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
18 minutes.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
City, we are talking about mental health and where we are at as a country.
We are, and if you, every time you begin the discussion, you realize that you are barely touching the tip, barely.
Yeah.
Because with every word you utter, the enormity of the depth of the problem just keeps hitting you. Okay? And when you look at the social problems that we are dealing with on a daily basis, it doesn't help. It actually makes the situation worse. If someone can't eat, they are not going to think straight. If someone is uncertain that their child will be able to go to school, their whole thinking will be skewed. If someone doesn't even know that they're going to earn money that day, everything about it seems, it's like it's the circumstances are conspiring to make the mental health situation in this country worse, not better. Okay? Because even as you're talking about the actual mental health, what we see are the symptoms. What's bringing them about and how to deal with that. Now, that is the question that we keep talking and asking about and talking and asking about. And, it's like at the moment, this moment in time, it seems like a never-ending conversation. Yes.
Actually, City, in that task force report of 2019, it did identify very clearly what you're saying, the social determinants that cause mental health. It clearly defines them, and it's everything that we are discussing here, from the drought, to the what is in your pocket, what are you going to eat. It's the quality of food you eat. It's the type of food you consume. Those in the war zone, of course, will be affected. It's the children and the social media, and all those things are social determinants of mental health. And they can come in one form or in a mixed form. As Diana was saying earlier, we live in an environment where we have multiple things that we are dealing with on a daily basis. So triggers could come from any angle. But from where I come from, and with all the advocacy work that we were doing in the last parliament, I find and I believe that the most important thing is for people to be made aware. First, this is what is mental health. This is the importance of mental health. You need to be self-aware to the point where you appreciate that these are the triggers. These are the things that will cause me stress. Or these are the things that will cause me, anxiety, or will drive me to a certain, edge. For that matter, you need to have that kind of self-awareness. Truly speaking, we are so busy running around every day to even stop and think, what is the impact of this to myself or to the person even next to me? Sometimes you don't even have the frame of mind to consider that the thing I'm saying, how is affecting the person next to me, and how you yourself can be a trigger to that other person. And that trigger can now come back to be your trigger as well. Yet it's probably somebody you live with in the same house, probably share even the same bed. There's that kind of awareness that I believe is what is really going to help us. Even in as much as we are talking about here, we are going to fund NHIF more. Mental health is covered, access to mental health is covered under NHIF, universal health care. And that's what the minister will tell you today. We've already sorted mental health because it is part of the NHIF. But what we are forgetting is that by the time somebody goes to hospital, there's a lot more that could have been done. And this is where, for me, it becomes very important. Eric, we had this conversation some time back, and I said to you, imagine a situation where you have community health workers or volunteers going around door to door and having baraza conversations in mother tongue or in whatever language, if it is youth groups, if it is mothers, if it is wazes, if it is vijanas with alcoholism and stuff, you're having those barazas somewhere sitting, raising awareness, explaining to people the importance that your mental health actually does come first before anything else. And this is how it relates to the rest of yourself. Imagine if we had those happening everywhere. And what I know is that it has actually to be proved to work here in this country. Because I'll tell you, Nairobi itself, and I gave you this example the last time I was here, the focal person for Nairobi on mental health, they've done a fantastic job. And now with the Governor Sakaja in place, I know their budget has been expanded. So they have sub-county focal persons on mental health. And I joined in the last mental health celebration in October last year. I actually took part with the celebrations in my sub-county, Kawangware sub-county. And I was very pleased to see what the community there, how they have embraced the conversation on mental health. I was very impressed. And when you look at the statistics of their clinics, now more and more people coming out because they've availed psychologists, they've availed community health workers who are going around door to door, and they have a psychiatrist now who does the rounds in the clinics, and they have schedules for who needs to see who. And they're telling me the statistics are that now more and more people are even coming out and appreciating the conversation and being keen to take care of their own mental wellness. Isn't that a beautiful thing? It is doable. It is actually doable. If we expand those, budgets a little bit more, and you have every community discussing this issue, then you will see now what Diana again is talking about, this awareness where we begin to look out for each other. I think I saw in the news yesterday about this Shakahola thing. Shakahola. You see, I can't even pronounce. It's such a shock that the name never really
Just
sticks.
think of Shakahola.
I think it's the way my brain also protects me because
it's a protective mechanism.
Yeah, it's a protective mechanism. There's I saw in the news and the captions that there is a community that actually threw out Mackenzie when he lived and tried to start a church amongst them. And they said that when his teachings were causing them to be angry towards each other, and they kicked him out of the community. It was there in a caption yesterday. And I said to myself, this must be a community that knows how to, interact with itself and it's cohesive. Then you can say, this man, his teachings are making me get angry with the people who have lived with all my life properly. So let's kick him out. And that's how it's supposed to be. This is how communities watch out for each other. So I think, for me, the question of this raising awareness becomes most critical. It has to be down to the grassroots. This is not a conversation that only happens
It's
up
not a
here.
national conversation.
It has to happen on the ground. It has to have community workers, people who we know each other, where we are sitting. I can call a baraza of 10 girls or 10 women. At that local level, they become, also champions, and they go around. It has to happen in schools. It happens in the universities. It has to be that sort of networking and web.
What will be the catalyst for that, Diana?
To normalize the conversation. There's nothing else. We must talk about mental health in whatever capacity, and to make ourselves
How do you say mental health in Kiswahili?
Afya.
Normally, or just
Afya ya akili.
Ni
afya ya akili.
We have to destigmatize what the community knows
about what mental health. Because also there's a lot of stereotype when it comes to mental health conversation. Let's be honest. Also, because I wasn't alive 100 years ago, so I cannot talk.
City was.
City can tell us.
I was giving you wrong information. I was alive 200 years ago.
For me, I would really like to understand how our communities took care of each other, of people who had mental health problems, because I'm sure they did. What did they do? What worked? That's an interesting place to start with, because also think about it. When you think about mental health, even just the word mental health, what comes to mind? You think about a crazy person walking on the streets. But it's not true, right?
Consider also what you're saying. The community that you speak of was cohesive.
Correct.
And those communities, almost everyone in that community, they knew each other. And even if they thought there was a mental strain in a certain family line, it was known. And they, indeed, as you say, there was a way in which communities handled it. But what is significant about the sort of community you're talking about and the supportive nature was that the structure limited all those issues that bring about these mental health problems that we're talking about. Because there were certain things you took for granted. If you had a problem, you knew where to go. If you didn't have food, you knew what to do, who to go to. Some of these things that we're dealing with on a daily basis, in many of those communities, they weren't quite there. Now, when there was extremities that we could relate to mental health, people were expelled. But before it got there, there were always interventions. As you say correctly, they had a way. Now, what we are dealing with has to do with, first of all, the communities we keep speaking of historically don't exist.
But look at it this way. I like what you said about those structure. There's still structure. But what has changed and what has evolved is the how, that we've not really mastered it. Right, because this modern problems also need modern solutions.
Yes, they do.
Right, because we can't start saying we talk about mental health and we start talking about our communities in the past and wishing for that.
That won't help us very much.
Then we need modern solutions to the modern problems we're facing. Do you know your neighbor? How many neighbors do you know?
No, I don't know my neighbors. I know what they look like.
That's a problem. How many of your relatives who live in Nairobi, for example, do you visit? How often do you talk to them?
I don't visit my relatives.
Your siblings.
We meet on Christmas Day in the village.
My siblings I talk to literally every day. So
which is a good thing. Keep it going.
Yes.
So those are the structures that we need to look at and say, how can we develop that further? And also at the government level or national level, what community organizations have come together? For example, I like this chama Wamama and the way Wamamas come together to support each other financially, socially, and it's worked. So
that is a community.
That's because that's a community that is working.
It is
but
a community.
Before, in the olden times, it was there, but now we're in a modern world and it has evolved The structure is still there, but the how has changed and it's working.
And the human being hasn't changed either.
And the human being hasn't changed at all.
The needs that the human being has are still the same.
Yes, So we need to look at it in a different angle and say, how do we address the how? Because the structure is still there. How do we come together as a community, as a neighborhood? How do we come together as chama cha wamama na wanaume? And how do we develop that? And how do we ingrain that to bring that togetherness? And to understand, like, if I needed support, I can go to so-and-so. Because, we can sit here and talk about mental health, we can talk about, and bring all these big terms, but it's the simple concepts that will make a difference.
You know, the thing about this modern living, especially in cities, is this concept of alienation. We've normalized not talking to... No, let me talk about myself. I consider it normal not to talk to my neighbors. I may nod, I may wave. Every once in a while, if we bump into each other, we'll talk for 2 minutes. They may be neighbors whom I talk to a little more, but most of the other neighbors are nod and a wave, and I'm actually done. Now, modern living also indicates to us that when you're too friendly with your neighbor, you're getting into your neighbor's business, and you shouldn't.
Being nosy.
Yes. Now,
no, because that's what you're thinking. But is that what the neighbor is thinking?
No, I don't know what my neighbor is thinking. That's why I said. That's why I singled it to myself.
So maybe it's good to try and see where it goes
until something happens. And you see that neighborhood trying to come together. Right? So let's say there's a bereavement in one of the homes, and you see the neighbors. So the neighbors are wondering, so how do I go in? So
how do we help here?
I'd like to support because I've heard of this. Doesn't happen. How do I knock? So what do I bring? So you come, you sit there, and you're seeing there are strangers who are leading everything, and you're wondering, so how can I support? What kind?
Because we also tend to have a lot of assumptions.
That's what we lack.
About people. We tend to assume that people don't want to help us. But maybe people do want to help us, but they just don't know how.
What I've seen is it's the women who do this very well. Really well. They know who is your neighbor. They even know problems. I, as a man, I have no clue. None whatsoever.
And you deliberately avoid knowing.
Actually, I do. No, I do. Unless I'm told and it's hitting me in the face, I really do not want to know. Whereas, if I have relatives who have the same problems, I am very willing to listen.
You know, one of the biggest social determinants of mental health is our built environment. We're having this conversation with architects, with all the high-rise buildings that are coming up in Kileleshwa. Some of them, you have apartments that will never see even the sun. So even your vitamin D is at risk. There's no green space. There's nowhere to even breathe or decompress. So now tell me, this built environment is a big challenge, let alone the fact that you know your neighbor or you don't know your neighbor. You know, these are, as in the conversation is so broad, the issues that are affecting us in the urban setting are so broad. And you see, I keep saying we are like these third world countries, we are sort of leapfrogging to catch up with the first world. And we are leapfrogging without going through, a certain organic growth and process, So we find ourselves in such places. Why do we have such a city? In fact, we should have been bold enough and say, we should be encouraging, low rise up to this level, let the city expand horizontally as opposed to vertically, so that we have enough green spaces and we can bring a little bit of that rural, setup that I know all Kenyans, we love going to the rural. I'll be surprised if there are people who don't know the rural, but we love to go outdoors. We bring those outdoors into our built space. So we don't have just a typical built up urban space, but we bring a bit of our rural in there. So we don't all have to go to just Karura
the
Forest.
Mental health situation now comes in. Our love for money.
There we go again.
These monstrosities that we keep chasing upwards. Now
it's
that
about money. It's true.
It suspends and it eliminates every other consideration that you're speaking of. It takes center stage.
That's also true.
It's not just money to keep.
Yeah.
It's money to show.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the pressure to be the one.
Yeah.
Wacheki izile block tatu is a city. Everybody's got to know.
Oh my goodness, those apartments are a big conversation right now in Kileleshwa and Kilimani because they are really a health hazard.
Kilimani and Kileleshwa, people should go and visit Pipeline. They will shut up. Okay? They will keep quiet. If they just go to Pipeline. Wasiende hata mbali. Hapa. They will keep quiet for a bit.
Something there has to be
As we
done.
conclude though, Diana, what is it that we need to think of? Oh, you said personal responsibility. In 40 seconds, what is this that I should do today?
Take personal responsibility, and that means also to have more awareness and be intentional of what you're doing. Just don't be on autopilot mode. Take time to reflect. And we are dealing with a modern problem that needs modern solution. So if I talk about meditation and reflection and exercise, it shouldn't be taken for granted, because those are the basic things, the simple things that work. So let's do them and make it intentional.
Thank you. Diana Wache is a clinical psychologist, and Sylvia Kasanga, former senator, is a mental health advocate. Thank you very much.
My parting shot.
Ladies, yes.
You didn't give me my parting shot.
You have
I have a parting shot.
In a second.
For me, it's for the governance. Anyone out there who's listening to me, we need the Mental Health Act to be rolled out. It just needs to be rolled out. There's a lot of